He's also suffering from anal bleeding.
What?
Is this match still going on? The dog poop! All right, behind it! Hit a dog poop! Mercifully, it's over.
Hello and welcome to the Crap Wrestling Podcast, the podcast all about crap wrestling, which is also a crap podcast about wrestling. I am one of your co-hosts, Matt Burgess, and I am joined by the only penguin I know who is also a door-to-door salesman. It's Weston Hughes. How are you, Weston?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Ready to talk about the Brawl For All. I wondered if you wanted to kick off with any wrestling you've watched this week. So if you want to start, have you watched any crap wrestling this week?
I haven't watched any crap wrestling this week. I'm trying to think. I've been watching, I said, didn't I? I've really been sweating Lucha Underground. I've watched about 20 episodes this week, and it's good, nice. Definitely.
I don't think I've watched any crap wrestling this week other than the Brawl For All. Yeah, but I've been watching a couple of the documentaries about that as well. And what else have I watched good wrestling-wise? I have watched the NXT War Games men's match. That's all I've watched. I haven't really been keeping up with NXT 2.0 ever since it sort of left the black and gold. I've kind of gone off it a little bit.
The War Games good.
I've only watched that one match. I can't say anything for the whole pay-per-view, but yeah, that one match is really, really good. It's basically the black and gold guys against the 2.0 guys, and you can really see the new stars of the show shining through, which is great, and obviously the old guys. So Kyle O'Reilly, for example, for one, is leaving. Johnny Gargano is leaving. So two of the really big NXT guys. Kyle O'Reilly not all the way through, but
Johnny Gargano's massive though, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm praying very much that they come to AEW, yeah, because they'll use them right.
Yeah, definitely they'll use them right.
Not that they haven't been used well on NXT. They have been great on NXT, but my concern is that if they go to the main roster, then they won't be used right.
Yeah, of course. They don't use anyone right, do they?
Pretty much.
I was going to say about the Brawl For All, I've been listening to a few things as well, and have you heard of Wrestling Bios, Toad?
I haven't actually, no.
Yeah, Wrestling Bios is a YouTube channel, and it's good. I've told you about it, the Reliving the War series and that, and he does a video about Brawl For All, and it's good. So yeah, if you're looking for something to listen to and you're not listening to us, which should pick us first, obviously, but yeah, go and watch Wrestling Bios.
Yeah, I listened to the. It wasn't actually with JR. It was on Grilling JR. It was Conrad Thompson talking to someone who produces Dark Side of the Ring, talking about the Brawl For All. It was interesting, as it always is. With anything that's done by Conrad Thompson is generally good. I also listened to Bruce Pritchard talking to Conrad Thompson about the Brawl For All. That man has got some bullshit in him, I tell you that much.
Bruce Pritchard.
Fuck me, yeah.
What's he got to say about it?
You just feel like everything he says is protecting the company, which I kind of understand because he is like one of Vince's guys.
He's a company man, isn't he? Like, big time.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there was one thing that he said, and it was about chair shots. And Conrad basically said, yeah, that was a time back then, so you obviously had a bit more of a rough style, so like chairs being hit over the head as hard as they could on unprotected to competitors. And Pritchard says something like, they didn't hit each other over the head as hard as they could. If you think they hit each other over the head as hard as they could, then they've done a great job in working your ass. And I was like, fuck off. Yeah, post-concussion syndrome, a lie.
Yeah, it's all made up. It's all a work.
And if it was all a work, why don't they do it anymore? Idiot. He's an idiot.
To defend it, I don't know. You got me there. It's all at work.
Fucking bellend.
I watched something quite interesting actually. It was talking about it was about Rob Van Dam, and he went to try and become a comedian after he packed up wrestling. Did you know that? Nah, stand-up comedian. But he was just like proper struggling to remember the jokes, and then like throughout the documentary, they sort of realised that he's actually got CTE, and they never knew about it in the first place.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? It starts off as like some stupid thing about his...
Gets quite dark, yeah.
Stand-up comedy, and then it starts talking about towards the end about he could... And it was obviously apparent in TNA as well, when he couldn't remember spots that they were trying to plan for the matches and stuff like that, and then he retired, and obviously it just got worse and worse. So explain that one, Bruce Pritchard.
I feel for RVD because he comes across a really nice guy. I see on WrestleMania that he's got his own like weed products shop now online.
I think he's quite big in the whole weed, whatever you want to call it, in America, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was a big proponent of the 420 legalisation of cannabis. RVD, yeah, on his way up, he was pretty much unstoppable, wasn't he? Every time they tried to hold him down.
He was good though, wasn't he? He was just so good.
Brilliant wrestler. So today we're going to be talking about the Brawl For All.
Should have put RVD in the Brawl For All.
He would have kicked everyone.
Yeah, just kicked everyone in the head, wouldn't he?
Weston, tell us why. Is it in the crap wrestling chamber?
It just went horribly wrong, didn't it, I think? I don't see, you disagree with me on this, but I don't mind the premise. I quite like shoot fighting, as you know. I like UFC, I like mixed martial arts, I like boxing, combat karate and all the like. And I think if done correctly, they had a lot of people in there like Dan Severn and Steve Blackman and Ken Shamrock at the time who, this could have been good.
Yeah.
But it just was a fucking horror show, as always, as everything that WWE get their hands on becomes.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you on the fact that it could have been decent. I personally feel like the rules they didn't make a lot of sense for me, and I think we'll get into that when we get into the matches.
It just sounded like Vincent Russo. It's just like, well, so we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this, and this is it, and they just went right bang, yeah, that'll do, that's it.
Yeah,
Done.
No second thought about it. It's like the thinking often is, I think, in WWE in general, is sort of like, we've got an idea, let's go for it. Not second thought about how that's going to affect the long-term issues of any of the characters or any of the people, or even the idea of what wrestling is as a whole. I think that's one of the big things, is you're kind of going, okay, so we've got these wrestling matches, and I know that kayfabe was broken most of the way in 1998, but, you know, we still watch because we want to at least pretend that these people are having shoot fights. We know that they're not real, but I don't know, does it take away from these characters to go, okay, well actually when you put them in a real fight, they're not up to scratch really.
I definitely know what you mean, but if you was to brand it as like, this is an actual wrestling match, and then to throw an amateur wrestling match in there,
yeah,
or this is a wrestling tournament, we're watching wrestling, you know, say Kurt Angle was in there or whatever, for instance, he's an Olympic gold medalist, we all know it, Brock Lesnar, would you like to watch them two having an amateur wrestling match
100%
on the show? So yeah, I do get what you mean. Yeah, we knew that what we were watching was staged, predetermined, whatever, and we pretend it's real, but we watch it because we love it. Yeah, I get that, but I do think there could have been room for this if it was done well, but they obviously just didn't think of the ramifications of people were gonna get injured if they were actually beating each other up, which, you know, I think a fucking 6-year-old could have probably worked that out. If you've got two 6'5" blokes who weigh 18 stone and they're punching each other, that someone might get injured.
Yeah, and I think part of the other issue is that, like, this is a week to week thing. When you've got boxing matches, there's a reason why they take 3 months in between. It's because they prepare for these meticulously. For one, they train for each opponent as well as they can. They're trained very well in defence, and that was one of the big things I noticed in the tournament overall, is how poor they are at defending themselves, and I think that's the big issue. Defence in itself in boxing it's a work of art when you watch someone like Floyd Mayweather do it, for example.
Yeah, it is throughout a lot of the weight divisions though, because no one's just walking in getting hit, and if they are, then they've got a style where they're taking the shots on the top of their head and on their gloves and stuff like that, and they're walking someone down. So yeah, no, I definitely get what you mean, although it is harder to defend yourself in MMA, but then smaller hands, smaller target, you know, it's easier to hit someone with a boxing glove on than it is to hit someone with a small MMA glove on, so it's all relative in the end, isn't it? I do definitely agree that the premise of it maybe could have worked in a different sort of situation, but how they did it, and yeah, the fact that it was week by week, it didn't really work, did it? Because they had no time for training, no time for warming up. A lot of them were like Bart Gunn, who eventually won it. Does he have any outside fighting experience?
I don't think so.
He does. Did the Godfather have any outside fighting experience?
Apart from kicking people in bars when he was a bouncer.
And that's all well and good, and he may be able to kick in the average man in the street just from being hard and big, but that's not going to work against Dan Severn. That's not going to work against any fucking blue belt who's the same size as him in a jiu-jitsu gym anywhere in the country, or anyone that's wrestled in the NCAA. It's just not going to work. They're just going to take you down and beat the shit out of you. So sorry, Godfather, if you are listening, and you probably are harder than me, but you probably not harder than Dan Severn or someone, you know. So
yeah, and it's not always about the hardness as well. It's also about, you know, the skill.
Of course.
The amount of training that Severn would have put into something like this, and
yeah, when I say hardness like that, when I'm talking throughout this, I do mean, like, obviously, if you're trained in wrestling, you're trained in jiu-jitsu, you're trained in a martial art, you are quintessentially then hard.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a slightly different format this week, as we're going to be covering quite a lot of matches, quite a lot of short matches. Plan is that we're going to be starting with how the Brawl For All came about, what was the lead up to it. We're then going to be talking about the first round of matches, and with those we're going to be doing a very short introduction about each of the wrestlers involved, particularly those that we haven't talked about before, although I don't think anyone from here has been talked about on the podcast yet.
Not that I believe so. And why would you talk about any of these chumps in this fucking tournament?
We'll then talk about each of the following matches briefly, and then we'll talk about the aftermath of the Brawl for All. So, if you have any questions, don't bother asking them. I can't hear you. It's a fucking podcast.
Type them into your phone and tweet them.
Yeah, tweet them to us. They won't be on a podcast because we're recording it right now. Before we get into that though, we have our weekly game show.
I'm starting to quite like this bit, the game show.
Okay, would you like to know what the game show is called?
Yeah, go on, mate.
The Pot, Austin, the Kettle Black.
That wasn't even good. That wasn't even good.
Oh.
That's the worst one. It makes no sense.
Okay, sorry. I've got another
Austin. Calling Austin.
one. It's close enough, wasn't it?
No.
How about this one? I think you better Steve right now.
No. Come on, let's hit the rest.
Love me or Steve me?
These are so bad this week, Tyler. What have you done? What have you been doing this week? What's going on here?
I've been busy at work.
Go on then.
So you don't want to hear the last one?
Yeah, of course.
How are you doing, I say? Absent without Steve.
That one's the best one.
Okay.
That one's actually alright. That one's the best one. That's what we're going to call it, alright?
Okay. Our new game show this week is called Absent Without Steve. So I thought we'd include Steve Austin in this week's game because, one...
Oh, did you? I never would have guessed. Oh,
Because
God.
one...
Yeah.
It's 1998. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the king of wrestling right now. And two, it's going to get Stone Cold pretty damn soon.
It's stone cold out there now, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Stone cold out there, mate. It's freezing. Chilly McFreeze.
This is where Weston can see my screen so he knows what's coming. Okay, so the game is this. You've got to work out which of these were not on the list of names suggested to Stone Cold Steve Austin by Vince McMahon before he became Steve Austin. Now, we've got 9 names. 2 of them were not offered to Steve Austin. Okay, here is the list. First one is Fang McFrost.
It's got to be real.
That's real.
It's got to be real.
Okay, next one. Billy Bluefingers.
No, that's not real.
That's not real.
Yeah, not real.
Otto Von Ruthless.
It's real. That one is. That one definitely is.
Next one. Mr. Freeze.
I don't know.
I'll say you're not sure and we can come back to it if you want.
I don't know about that one.
Old Man Winter.
That can't be real. Old man. That can't be real. Was he going to wear like prosthetic, like glasses and like fake face and have a walking stick and that? Is that going to be a shtick?
I don't know any more than the names themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one. Ice Dagger.
Yeah, that's real, definitely. Otto Von Ruthless. I can't. What is it?
Okay, the next one. Cruel Luke.
I reckon that's real. Cruel Luke.
The next one. Cool Cat.
I'm not sure.
And the last one. Chili McFreeze.
Yeah, that's real. That one's real.
I think we've talked about Chili McFreeze
yeah, we
before.
have. Me and you spoke about it.
Okay, so you said that Billy Bluefinger definitely wasn't real.
Yeah.
You weren't sure about Mr. Freeze, Old Man Winter, or Cool Cat. So one of those is not real. Which one is it?
Old Man Windsor's not real.
Congratulations, Weston.
Did I get them all right?
You got them both right.
Fucking hell. Yes, I'm happy with that.
I made those 2 up.
Did you?
I did.
They were quite good. They're probably better than some of McMahon's.
I don't know where I got Billy Bluefingers from, but Old Man Winter is what they call Grandpa on the Mr. Plow episode of Simpsons.
Is that what they... Yeah, that's a good episode. Right?
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Mr. Plow. Mr. Plow.
That name again is Mr. Plow. Okay, right. So, Weston, what was the story in the lead up to the Brawl For All? What brought this thing about?
Didn't Vince Russo just literally make it up off the top of his head because JBL was going around saying he was the toughest SOB in the WWE at the
Yeah,
time?
that was pretty much it. Bradshaw was going around saying, if this was real fighting, I would kick everyone's ass. And Bradshaw, well known for being, I think Russo said it was best himself actually. Russo in the Dark Side of the Ring episode called him a braggadocious asshole.
And it covers him, doesn't it?
Quite like the word braggadocious. Might bring that into my own vernacular.
Chucking it into the vocabulary of Toad. He's the only Toad that knows the word braggadocious.
Yeah, so Vince Russo wanted to test the theory about whether Bradshaw was actually the hardest man in the WWE at shoot fighting, and basically wanted to test it because he wanted Bradshaw to get his head kicked in, basically.
I can see that. Why you would want Bradshaw to get his head kicked in, which is why he was such a good heel. Because although they're not going to go into massive detail about the JBL character, but I will say I don't think it was that much of an extension of his own personality.
Yeah, one thing that's really interesting to me about Bradshaw JBL is that the Bradshaw character, from what I really knew him as in the Attitude Era, is so different to the JBL character.
Yeah.
They almost don't feel like they can be the same person.
Yeah, the Bradshaw's like proper like good stand up for the rights of the like common man, sort of like working class hero, isn't he, almost?
Yeah, and it's also like he has this like big, long, thick black hair.
Yeah.
And then, long's maybe not the word, and then he comes back with like brownish hair, and he just looks like an upstanding citizen of the US, support the military and all that sort of stuff. The characters are so different, but not just the characters, but just, I don't know how I can explain it. If I didn't know they were the same person, I wouldn't have guessed it in a million years.
It's like JBL's Bradshaw's evil twin, isn't it?
It's like it's his dad.
His dad's a fucking proper prick. And that's why he's gone off the rails and started drinking beer and being like a vigilante. Because his dad was a fucking arsehole. It all makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, you could imagine JBL just like JBL as dad of Bradshaw just being such a dick to Bradshaw that he's just
started smoking cigars and went off the rails.
Exactly. Playing poker with Mae Young.
Yeah. Do you think Bradshaw and JBL would like each other? I don't think they'd like each other one bit.
Nah, they'd not be fans of each other.
Do you know what though? Like JBL is obviously better and more accomplished than Bradshaw, like massively more. But I would say that Bradshaw's harder than JBL.
Yeah, in a shoe fight.
Or in a wrestling match. But JBL's better than Bradshaw. So work that one out. It's Twilight Zone. Yeah, but the JBL character, I don't know if John Bradshaw Layfield, not JBL or Bradshaw, the actual John Bradshaw Layfield, is actually a millionaire and stuff, or like a billionaire or whatever he was supposed to be. But I do think that the JBL character is more accurate to John Bradshaw Layfield than Bradshaw.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's definitely.
I feel like it's an exaggerated personality, but he's actually a prick, and obviously JBL's a massive prick.
I know we did just talk a little bit about Bradshaw, but I'd quite like to go into Vince Russo as a bit of a longer piece, because he's a character of great interest if you're interested in, I think, any of the storylines that were written between about 97 through to about 2007. I know he wasn't in the company that long.
Went back to TNA then, didn't he?
We was in TNA, he went to WCW and turned them into an absolute shitstorm. But that came from his writing style.
Definitely. He is a polarising character, and lots of people that are heavily involved in wrestling, the old school, have got a lot of bad stuff to say about him. And I feel like a lot of the new school sort of people within wrestling probably have good things to say about him.
I would have thought so. So Russo started out as the editor for the Raw magazine, and apparently he wrote a letter to Vince McMahon saying, this show is not interesting, it's not cool, people don't like it, this is how you could change it. And apparently Vince then brought Russo into a meeting where he thought he was going to get fired. He thought, I'm going in this meeting, I'm going to get fired, that's going to be the end of it. And anyway, there was all of Vince's little cronies, all of the inner circle as they're often known.
Pat Patterson and the boys.
Yeah, exactly. And Vince then gave everyone a Raw magazine and said, this is what our show should be like. Apparently the Raw magazine was a little bit more Attitude Era.
Bit edgier and
yeah,
stuff.
Edgier is probably the best word for it, yeah. And then he hired him onto the writing staff and they went from there.
Was he like head writer straight away?
I think he
Literally
might have
just brought him in and went, fucking go for him.
I don't know actually. I'm not sure if he went straight into head writer, but I know he came into the writing staff straight away. Yeah, went straight from writing a magazine to writing for the show. And the way they used to write the show is that they would do it with Jerry Springer on in the background. So yeah, he was basically like, oh, Jerry Springer's the coolest thing on TV at the moment.
It was though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the time, it really was. So
Yeah. I remember being about 10 and always laughing at the Jerry Springer show.
It would get millions and millions and millions of views, I bet.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer shows. If you look back at the Attitude Era of maybe not the main storylines that were going on, but if you look at some of the smaller storylines, they were fucking rubbish. They were so bad. But the main storylines were fucking brilliant, weren't they? Like the whole Austin McMahon ongoing thing. Jerry Springer's the only word for it. They really were.
Mm. What I would say is that although not all the stories were brilliant, and some of them were downright terrible, everybody had one. Everybody had a storyline. And I think that is so important. When you watch the TV shows today, when you watch SmackDown, Raw, etc., sometimes you've got, for example, Shinsuke Nakamura is the Intercontinental Champion, and a really good one at that. Got a really good gimmick with Boogs, but Rick Boogs, sorry.
With boobs, I thought he said.
A good gimmick, he's got boobs now. He's got a really good gimmick with.
Imagine someone who hasn't watched WWE for a while. They go, "What? He's got boobs." Just straight on Raw, SmackDown, fucking see what he's up to. But
he hasn't got boobs on Raw.
No.
We'll get that in post. Anyway, Shinsuke Nakamura comes out with Rick Boogs playing his entrance music, which is just brilliant. I really enjoy that. But he hasn't defended his Intercontinental Championship on television for over 2 months.
he's a good wrestler as well, isn't he? Fucking good.
Fucking great wrestler.
Yeah,
And Rick
of course
Boogs ain't no mug either.
No. What a fucking waste that is.
Yeah, I mean, he's fighting every once in a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a tag team, sometimes just randomly, you know, with people. But they'll have people lose on TV and could say, oh, it wasn't for the championship. It's just like, well, why do you have your champion losing all the time? It's so strange.
Do you think he may sit there thinking, why the fuck did I come to this? When he could have stayed in Japan and been the fucking top of the tree.
Yeah, I think everyone, when they sign with WWE, they're like, I'm going to change it from the inside. But you just can't. All the time you've got this eccentric billionaire donor running the show, then it's just going to be so tricky to make a difference. You think the amount of people that come from NXT, and you're just like, oh, there's no way they can fuck him up. Like, you look at Keith Lee.
Yeah, what did they do?
Ugh,
What the fuck was that all about?
They first of all, they put him in this thing that would look like a skirt.
Yeah, they didn't want him being fat on TV, did they?
Yeah, they changed his outfit, they changed his music, which was really good, and then they wanted to turn him into a monster heel, when the whole idea of Keith Lee's character, in my view, is like,
Just a nice guy, isn't it?
I am not what you expect me to be. And it's like, well, everyone's going to expect this really big athletic guy to be a monster heel.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, I'm a really nice bloke, and I am supporting my fans and telling them that you can be limitless just like me, and just because you're big or whatever, you won't be held back by that, because I can do a fucking moonsault and it will look sick. And they still fucked it.
It was ready made, wasn't it?
Oh, so many of
You
them
just
are.
need to fucking just go, boom, there you go, mate, run with it.
That's what I'm saying, is that under Russo, even those who had crappy storylines still had storylines. But yeah, it was very much that he brought in all of the more edgier stuff, but also a lot of the more sort of cringe-inducing stuff, like sort of Test and Albert, who were called TNA, which
Yeah.
obviously meant tits and arse.
And they were with Trish Stratus.
And they were with tits.
No, that's
Fucking
Nakamura, he's with tits.
Ah, goodness sake.
And they were with tits.
Trish Stratus, you're more than tits, I promise. That was a slip of the tongue. You're very attractive, but you're also a very impressive wrestler.
Way ahead of your time, Trish.
100%.
He was very good at wrestling when not a lot of other women were.
Yeah. You had PMS, the Pretty Mean Sisters.
I don't remember that.
I'm not going to go into why they were called that.
That's good though.
You had the wrestling porn star,
Val Venus.
Val Venus.
He weren't that bad either.
No, he was a good wrestler.
What about Mr. Arse, Billy Gunn?
Yeah.
Mr. Arse.
Mr. Arse.
What the fuck's that all about, mate? He was good. He's so fucking good.
He's still wrestling.
Yes, I know, he's about 80 as well. No, he's 57, isn't he? But, like, you know.
Russo also brought in Beaver Cleavage,
God.
the man who was in love with his mother. And also, I don't think this was a Russo thing necessarily, but you also had Mark Henry being sexual chocolate,
In love with Mae Young.
in love with Mae Young, who then gave birth to a hand.
And
I remember watching that live and just thinking, what the fuck is going on here?
when that happened, I would have been about 6, 7. So I don't think I actually saw that. My mum definitely wouldn't have let me watch that. She would have watched the tape back and said that my dad forgot to record it or something like that. That's what would have happened. But what I was going to say, was it Vince Russo who put Judy Bagwell on a pole? Because I think it was.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So he did do some good.
We wouldn't have a podcast if we didn't have crap stuff like that. So thank you, Vince Russo, for building us a platform.
Sometimes I wonder, what was he thinking? And then sometimes just like, mate, this is so... Like, obviously it was very, very fucking millennial. But it was good. We go back and we watch it and we fucking love it. And the Monday Night War and that, it was brilliant. And it, like, so much of it was good. And there was so much shit. But was that just of the time? That it was just shit?
I don't know.
Or was it just him? I don't know. But then obviously once he left WWF, didn't he, and went back to WCW, and they just carried on going with that style, didn't they?
A lot of people put it down to Russo, why things got so bad.
There's a lot of factors in there. It's easy just... They probably all want you to think it was him, because everyone hates him anyway.
Yeah,
so he's the reason why it went to shit.
He's an easily hateable guy, I think.
He's a scapegoat for a lot of the problems that were going on at the time,
Yeah.
I think. But then he went and fucked up TNA as well, so... But then Eric Bischoff and Hogan went there as well.
Yeah.
Hogan obviously couldn't have fucked anything up. It's just, you know. But Dixie Carter didn't have a fucking clue. They've got them 3 clowns running it, and
it's a shit show basically. But yeah, Vince Russo was a good thing for the Attitude Era, though. It certainly bred a lot of positive stuff through that time, even though some of it is considered offensive, at least by today's standards, and probably them standards as well.
They were just going with the whole extreme thing, weren't they? It was like ECW were really the first people to be doing it, though. When did they when did Shane Douglas throw the NWA title down? That was when they changed their name from Eastern Championship Wrestling to Extreme Championship Wrestling. I think that was in like 94 or 93.
The Dean is back.
The Dean. He's got to make every episode. The Dean's got to be in. Mate, he was a great wrestler. Go and watch him. He was fucking such a good heel in ECW, the franchise. Shane Douglas. He was brilliant.
I wonder how much it would cost to get Shane the Dean Douglas to do an introduction to our podcast.
I wonder how much it costs to get him on a podcast.
Do you reckon he does cameo?
Yeah, definitely, mate. He's definitely skint now. He didn't make millions being the Dean, did he? He's definitely skint.
Shane the Dean Douglas, if you're still alive.
He's still alive. I've seen shoot interviews with him, and he seems like quite a nice guy.
Name your price, Shane the Dean Douglas.
ECW were the first people to do this whole Attitude Era stuff.
Yeah.
Extreme stuff.
So yeah, that's Russo. The only other factor that I can really think of that might have led to the Brawl For All, the UFC was starting to become a bit bigger. People were starting to enjoy watching the shoot fighting, and they wanted to bring that into the wrestling show and show you a bit more of variety about how well these guys could beat each other up for real.
And they wanted to fucking... JR just basically said that Steve Williams was going to win this.
Yeah.
There's no chance that anyone is going to win except for him. So they were doing this to strap him to the moon, weren't they? That was what they were doing.
Yeah, so that was part of that, yeah. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, was well known in Japan to be a real hard motherfucker. Really good wrestling career over there, really respected in Japan. He wasn't really in his prime when they brought him over. Or maybe, he was in his prime or just coming towards the end of that. So, a lot of people who say, oh, because he got beaten up and they couldn't really strap a rocket to him any longer because he'd lost. That cost the company millions of pounds. It's probably a bit unfair, really, because how much was he worth at that point anyway? But apparently they're going to team up with Steve Austin, and I don't think I really wanted to watch that anyway.
Did he have any outside fighting credentials? Anything wrestling, jiu-jitsu, anything of the like? Or was he just someone heard he was hard because he was big? JR heard that he kicked in 10 people in a bar once, and he said, she said story, and JR said he was hard and he was going to win. Just so fucking stupid.
They tried to set it up that Steve Williams would win, but they couldn't do it. They tried to change the brackets at the tournament to make sure that he got through and whatever. Didn't account for how hard Bart Gunn was going to be. And then when they realised that Bart Gunn wasn't who they wanted to win, they then didn't give him the push that he deserved for winning.
Oh, they fucking ruined his career after that. Not that he had much of one, did they? But they just fucking ran him into the ground after that, didn't they?
They punished him for winning.
Did they pay him the money they were supposed to?
I believe so. This is the thing, is that if you're on a contract with WWE, if he hadn't won that, yes, he would have been 50 grand down, but would he have got another 5 years contract out of him? Because he wouldn't have then had a fight with Bob Holly, who was in a tag team with at the time. They were decent together. Could they have got a few more years out of it? Would that have been worth more than 50 grand to him over the next 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, of course it would have.
Of course it would.
And they wouldn't have fucking humiliated him and got him knocked out by Butterbean and fucking WrestleMania.
That was shameful.
The whole thing was ridiculous. But then it's like, when you've got a load of blokes in there who are not shoot fighters, they're untrained, but they're fucking big, athletic, muscly, strong, fast geezers, how are they going to predict who's going to win? If you just chuck a load of boxing gloves to a load of geezers down the gym who are all 6'5", who's going to beat who? Anyone's going to beat anyone, aren't they, exactly. Realistically?
In a 3-round knockout brawl as well, and the rules are a little bit shady as well.
Then no one's going to win based on ability so much. Do you know what I mean? If you had fucking Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn or something like that, they'll win because they're skilled. If you've got Bart Gunn and fucking JBL, they're just two blokes punching each other. That's all they are. Me and you could just sit here punching each other. Someone's going to eventually fall down, aren't they? It's it's ridiculous. It's fucking so stupid. It really, really is. 5 points. No fucking isn't.
Okay, we are going to get started with watching these matches. We will watch the first one and we'll be back with you very soon. Okay, so as we're kicking off the tournament, the Brawl For All rules are as follows. Each match will consist of 3 1-minute rounds. There is a point system. Whoever throws the most punches per round will get 5 points. Whoever can get a takedown, or more than one takedown, they get 5 points per takedown. For knockdowns, which means if you punch someone and they fall down, 10 points. A knockout will end the brawl. this lends to a really weird system, and it really shows in this first match that we've got. So we've got Mark Merrow facing Steve Blackman. Mark Merrow is a former Golden Gloves boxing champion, and you can really see it in his style. And his shorts. He's got a lovely pair of shorts on. And we were sort of debating. I watched 98 all the way through a few years ago, and Mark Merrow's gimmick was very much based around his boxing. So I couldn't remember if that was what he always wore, or if these were just a pair of boxing shorts that he had. But he looked smart. He looked like a boxer. And the other star, of course, is Steve Blackman, who clearly has a martial arts background.
I don't know whether he's got a wrestling background or a jiu-jitsu background or what, but his takedowns are fucking impeccable, aren't they?
Yeah, the takedowns are good. And we know about his striking. I heard this hilarious story that JR was telling once, and he said that Bradshaw and Steve Blackman had an actual fight in an airport once when they were waiting a baggage claim, and because Jim Ross was the let's call it talent person at the time, come into the office and he says, right, what happened then? And Bradshaw said, I don't know what happened, but I was hit about 8 times before I even knew I was in a fight. Which is hilarious, because obviously Steve Blackman is he's quick, he's athletic, clearly got this martial arts background that is working for this. And of course, Merrow throws the most punches in every round, but Blackman gets about 5 or 6 takedowns. So he's
in each round, that is, each minute round. You know, like if they were actually having a boxing match, some of their exchanges were quite good when they were exchanging punches. It was entertaining, really, for the 10 seconds when they were actually exchanging punches. And then Blackman just dragged him to the ground over and over again. Yeah,
and it made it difficult for Merrow then, because then he's thinking, well, I need to move my defence further down my body so I'm not getting taken down at the waist all the time, but then it just left his face open.
He was just getting punched in the face.
Exactly. So, and of course it wouldn't make too much difference to this match because Blackman can kick brilliantly, but you're not allowed to kick, you're only allowed to punch or do takedowns. No kicking, no headbutting. It sort of makes you think, what is the point in throwing the punches unless you're going for the knockout, which as we see was obviously effective for someone like Bart Gunn, who's got a real good left hand. But other than that, if you're not going to knock someone out, just keep taking them down.
It's not an easy thing to do, knock someone out who's expecting a punch. Majority of the time they've got to not see the punch coming.
Yeah, especially when they're massive like they are.
Of course. If you're standing in front of someone and you know they're throwing a punch at you, it's more difficult for you to be knocked out. And obviously when you've got like Steve Blackman, who's obviously got some sort of fighting experience, like Mark Merrow's probably not going to knock him out realistically.
Yeah.
Although he probably would beat him in a boxing match, judging from this. But you know, it weren't a boxing match.
It just showed all of the problems with the format of the Brawl For All. About halfway through the match, we get a "We Want Wrestling" chant from the crowd, and that is what they paid to see. They didn't know the Brawl For All was coming when they probably bought their ticket to go and watch Raw that night, and they've lost 10 minutes to this.
What a surprise was it?
Well, I don't think it was talked about loads, you know, in the Raws coming up. I think it was just brought on them kind of by surprise, to the fans at least.
Yeah.
I mean, how far in advance do you buy a ticket to a wrestling event? At least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, I can't imagine they were talking about it a couple of weeks in advance. It doesn't sound like it's been thought through for a couple of weeks backstage, let alone on the TV. So if you've paid $100 for your wrestling ticket and then you're getting this bullshit boxing, wrestling hybrid, you're probably just thinking, well, what the fuck have I done this for? As we said that we would do on all of these podcasts, I want to bring up a positive thing about Mark Merrow. Mark Merrow has one of the funniest wrestling moments of all time. Do you know what I'm going to bring up, Weston?
Was he Sable's husband? Is that him?
It is to do with Sable.
Yeah, I thought so. Is it when she powerbombs him, by any chance?
Sable does powerbomb him, but it's not about that. There's a time where Mark Merrow is being horrible to Sable, and Sable then goes away and builds up strength and whatever, and you get all these little packages of showing her building up in the gym and really bulked up, and you're thinking, oh, Sable's going to have a fight here, you know, she can have it. And Mark Merrow says, right, come on, you can come out here and you can pin me, so that I can say, sorry, I've treated you badly, and you can pin me. He lays down in the ring. Sable climbs up, goes to do the pin. Mark Merrow reverses it into a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. And his celebration is the fucking funniest thing in the world. He starts jumping up and throwing his arms in the air. It's so funny.
That is funny, man.
It is really funny, especially when they've done this build-up about watching Sable become, like, you know, building up her muscles in the gym and that, and then he fucking rolls her up. It's just one of the best heel moments of all time.
That is fucking good, that is, mate. That's brilliant. I'd like to say that's my bad.
Yeah, that was funny as fuck, so thank you for that, at least, Mark Merrow. That was one of the great moments of '98. Thank you for that. Right, we're going to go on to the next one. So, Mark Canterbury versus Bradshaw. Tell us what you thought, Weston.
It's a fucking shower of shit.
We've already spoken quite at length about Bradshaw, and I don't really know anything about Mark Canterbury other than they said that he was part of Southern Justice, so I can't really talk about him too much. But from what I could tell from this match, he wasn't really up to much. I can't imagine he would have been that great a wrestler.
I've never even heard of Southern Justice, to be fair. I like to think I know quite a bit about wrestling as well, really, to be honest. Although this isn't really my main era, but still.
Yeah, I don't think they were up to too much, really. Maybe a bit earlier on, but it was all boxing based. Well, they tried a couple of takedowns.
Mark Canterbury shot on him in the first round and then shot him in the second round, and then finally got a takedown on him in the third round. Jay got 5 points back, but he was shooting and missing, shooting for a takedown. I did say, didn't I, there's quite a good takedown defence actually. It looks like Bradshaw may have wrestled at some level. He sprawled quite well.
Yeah, but the boxing, like I said earlier, the defence was really poor. It didn't look good. You didn't feel like they could protect themselves from those shots, and JBL was swinging hard as well, and you're just thinking someone's got to get hurt. And
technique was fucking terrible. It was just shit. It was horrible to watch. I said to you when we was watching it, I like to watch fighting of people who are trained to fight. It's good to watch, but this is just fucking. I don't want to watch two idiots swing who don't know what they're doing.
We've got a whole episode of it.
I know, yeah. Fucking hell.
My favourite part of this match was when Jerry the King Lawler said, "I'm good at throwing rabbit punches, but unfortunately they won't let me fight any rabbits."
Good commentary.
It's good commentary. Crowd were also all over this one. 2 minutes into what is literally a 3-minute match, they were screaming, "Boring, boring." And yeah, I think they get a bit more into it towards the end of the tournament, but yeah, I can't argue with them much.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Jerry the King also said 60 seconds might seem like 60 hours when you're 300 pounds and you're trying to throw 60 punches in 60 minutes or something like. So it was good. Good commentary anyway. Well done, Jerry. You made that fight for me.
Anything more on Bradshaw Canterbury?
No chin locks.
No chin locks, very disappointing.
Yeah.
Bradshaw wins, he's through to the next round. Savio Vega versus Brackus, what were your thoughts, Weston?
Yeah, it wasn't very nice to watch, was it?
Nah, Savio Vega threw some really good punches. You watch Brackus come out, who I know nothing about, by the way, and you think, wow, he is huge.
He was world weightlifting champion, wasn't he?
Bodybuilding.
That's the one. Weightlifting, bodybuilding, yeah.
So,
he looks like it as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they're show muscles, aren't they?
Yeah.
It doesn't make you necessarily a good athlete, and yeah, you could see that easily from this. There was a moment in I think the second round where Vega goes for a takedown and Brackus' knee kind of buckles underneath him and it looks ugly.
Yeah, his leg gets caught underneath him and you can see how all the injuries have come out of this tournament, but Brackus just comes down and he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, doesn't he? He's like, looks like a fucking statue, you know, like perfect physique. Savio Vega comes out with a bit of a belly and a fucking vest and shorts and yeah, he connects with a couple of nice punches. Do I think he throws any nice punches? Not really. His technique's fucking awful. Yeah. Terrible. Horrible to watch, this was.
Yeah, and he breaks Brackus' nose as well with a punch in the corner.
Yeah.
Again, a little positive to throw in about Savio Vega. Had a really good match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. In your house, beware of dog.
Beware of dog.
Perhaps the worst name of a pay-per-view of all time. All I know is they have a strap match and it's actually decent. Other than that, Savio Vega, I don't remember him ever having another good match.
I saw Savio Vega have a fight. It was. Do you remember that Raw that was live all around the world? One of them was in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
No.
Savio Vega has a fight with someone from the nation. I think it might be The Rock, and it is literally, he does like 8 rest holds in the match, or 9 or something stupid. Go and watch it, honestly, after this. It is fucking terrible. Horrible. Because he does a nerve hold, and that's his like rest hold. It's fucking awful. Savio Vega, shame on you. Shame on you.
I think that's all I've got to say about that match.
Yeah, it was shit. This sums up the whole fucking thing, doesn't it? It was fucking horrible.
On to the next.
Yeah.
So Hawk v Draws Weston, what did you think?
It's quite good. I quite enjoyed this one. Neither of them look like they're very well trained, but they're just swinging it out, and they're both having a good time as well. They're both smiling, and they're both mates, aren't they?
Yeah, they seem like mates. They seem like, you know, we've been thrown into this, let's make the most of it. Hawk doesn't know how to wear his mouth guard, so it keeps falling out, and eventually he's like, fuck this, and throws it out the ring. And
Draws does the same.
Draws does the same, yeah. It was quite cool. They bit of crap out of each other for a while.
They do, don't they? There's quite a good fight, actually. They both look like they can definitely fucking have a tear up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Road Warriors were Legion of Doom. They were well known in the 80s.
Shooters, weren't they?
Yeah, for their like bar fighting ability. And Droz is a ex-American football player, both well built for fighting.
Yeah, definitely tell they can both have a tear up as well. When you're watching this, it's a good fight.
Yeah.
It is a good fight, really. Just not due to fighting technique, but they're just punching the shit out of each other, aren't they?
Yeah,
And it's a draw as well, so...
Yeah, which JR says, it's like kissing your sister.
I heard that as well. I didn't know if you heard that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't know. You've got a sister, man. You'll have to tell me.
I don't know. Don't want to kiss her. I suppose you don't want to draw in this either, do you? So,
I see. So
I don't know.
It's definitely a weird thing to say on live television.
Sounds like something the King would say.
Yeah.
Did the King write that line for us?
Like, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's getting cut.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was the best one I've seen so far, I think. I'd watch that again. They had fun. Everyone had fun.
Yeah, I don't really understand what they're supposed to do now, though.
I don't know. Droz hurt his hand in this.
I did look like he hurt his hand, but he then definitely goes on to fight later. So the question really is, what are you supposed to do in a draw? You can't have both of them go through. So it's like they haven't really thought this through before. Do
you know what I think? They knew someone was backing out, so they thought, lie, kayfabe it, so it's a draw, and then they put them both through. Oh. And it was very close anyway, wasn't it? It was. I wouldn't have been able to pick a winner out of that.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought, yeah, sweet, we'll call it a draw. Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, so we're back on our second recording session for the Brawl For All. It's quite a long tournament, so we split it in two. We recorded this once already, but we had some audio issues, which you might have heard Paul Bearer refer to in our last podcast. But yeah, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I think that I might have fucked up the recording through just not clicking on the right microphone option on our recording software, but it's not the end of the world. It was going to be the best podcast of all time. It was the funniest thing that had ever been recorded on audio in history, but you're never going to hear it.
It was angelic.
It was heavenly. It was magical. So, sucks to be you. And anyway, we now get to watch the Brawl For All twice, and it is the best piece of wrestling media that's ever been created also.
Best piece of combat sport media.
100%.
It's not entertainment anymore, is it? It's actual sport. Combat. Hand-to-hand combat.
Since we last did our Brawl For All recording, we've also been releasing podcasts, which obviously we hadn't done before that. So we've had some feedback and stuff, which has been great. Mostly been positive as far as I'm aware.
Would someone just turn around and be like, shit?
I don't know. The internet is a bit of a feral place, isn't it? People love to go, you suck, and you're shit at podcasting, which, you know, I admit to on the start of every fucking podcast.
Yeah, it's a crap wrestling podcast. So.
Yeah, if you don't like crap podcasting, then don't come.
Yeah, you should go to the good wrestling podcast.
But yeah, now all positive feedback so far, which is probably because the only listener is my mum.
And me, sometimes.
No, we've had some fairly decent listening stats, to be fair, at least for a new podcast. So.
Yeah, I was well surprised.
Yeah, and unless my mum has listened to us 100 times, we're actually doing all right.
She's got 100 devices.
So a special hello to our only Andorran listener out there. If you've managed to stay listening to us, thanks for listening to us from Andorra.
We're going worldwide.
We're going worldwide. Yeah, we've gone to Andorra.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, so thank you, our Andorran listener. We adore you.
We're going to be like number one listened podcast in Andorra. We're number one in the Andorran podcast chart.
What, with one listener?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what Andorra's like. All I know is their football team ain't very good.
They must be good at something.
Undoubtedly.
Probably good, like wrestling or something like that.
Good at listening to podcasts.
Yeah. Probably good at actual amateur wrestling, yeah, Roman Greco or whatever it is.
Yeah, quite possibly. But anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for any comments you've given us or whatever. We really appreciate it and look forward to giving you more podcasts. More crap podcasts and more content in general. So, we're now moving on to the second half of the Brawl For All. We are first up going to be doing Bob Holly versus Bart Gunn. Still in the first round at the minute. So yeah, we'll be back in a moment to tell you all about it. Okay, so we just watched Bob Holly versus Bart Gunn. Weston noticed this time round a hilarious sign in the background of this fight. What did it say, Weston?
This is Bob Holly makes me melancholy.
Which she just googled, and I'm sure most people wouldn't have to Google that, but I felt like I needed to. Apparently it's a pensive sadness.
With no explanation.
Yeah, I feel Weston goes, well, it's obvious what it is. Bob Holly's making him sad.
Bob Holly's the explanation.
But yeah.
The man who wrestled a bear. It makes me melancholy.
Have we spoken about that yet?
I'm not sure. If we haven't, he wrestled a bear. Or did he punch the bear because it was a bare knuckle boxing tournament? Was it just a normal fight or was it only grappling?
We'll get to it next, but yeah, if you are that audience member and you're still alive and out there, we hope that you've got over your pensive sadness about Bob Holly. Hope the rest of his career made up somewhat for it.
Don't blame me, he makes everyone miserable, doesn't he, Bob Holly?
He looks like a pretty mad guy, doesn't he?
He's a fucking arsehole though, isn't he? Everyone hated him, didn't they?
He has terrible hair in this, doesn't he?
Awful. Looks like stunning Steve Austin.
He does, yes, yeah.
Is he from Texas, Bob Holly? Sounds like it.
Definitely southern.
So him and Steve Austin are both the same weird hair and the same hair. Like if they're both from Texas, is that like a Texas thing?
Are you saying that in a slightly different circumstance that we could have had Stone Cold Bob Holly?
Chili McBob. Chili McBob Holly.
Chili McBob.
Chili McBob.
Anyway, on to this stuff about this. On to this stuff about the bear. So, I couldn't remember if we talked about it before because we probably did talk about it in the last one. We did talk about it in the last one when we recorded before, but the story is, in Bob Holly's book, he basically says that he wrestled a bear. So he used to go to a bar close to his home and he used to fight in bare knuckle fights against just random blokes from his town.
Didn't he defeat everyone?
Yeah, apparently defeated everybody from his hometown. He was just too much of a hard man to lose to anyone. And so they, one time they just went, well, do you know what, next time we're bringing a bear. And they did. And then Bob Holly had to fight a bear.
Oh mate, it's just, I don't believe it for a fucking second. It's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Barefaced lies.
Oh, do you believe it?
I want to believe it.
I don't, because Bob Holly's a fucking prick. He's just, he's not very good at wrestling, is he? Let's be honest. Like,
some of his hardcore stuff against like Al Snow and stuff was alright.
Yeah, if it was someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin beat a bear up, you'd think yeah. But Bob Holly's he's just not good enough to beat a bear, is he? Basically, Hulk Hogan obviously beat a bear, wouldn't he? But Bob Holly, should he be beating the bear? I think that was a poor booking decision. If you
do you probably think it was a booker? Set of bears just sat in a room writing the storyline.
Shoot fight, was it?
It's calling spots against this bear.
Call it in the ring, brother.
I'm just imagining this Botchamania video where like they've edited it so that you can hear him talking to the bear in the ring being like,
I'm drunk.
Clothesline.
Whip me, I'm drunk. Right.
Anyway,
yeah, Bart Gunn absolutely dominates Bob Holly.
Yeah, shit, the match we're supposed to be talking about. Bart Gunn kicks his ass, basically. It's a bit of a weird one because Bart does win 15-0 across the rounds. I'm guessing that has to be based on that he threw the most punches 3 times in a row. But Bob Holly throws loads of body shots, but Bart just doesn't seem to give a fuck, really. He's just like, you can punch me in the belly all day, I don't give a shit.
First round was absolute fucking beating, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was bad beating by Bart Gunn on Holly.
Destruction.
And then second round was a bit closer, but Bart still clearly won, and then the third round he just clearly won.
Yeah. If it's going on quality of punches, you know that Bart Gunn's miles ahead, but it's not really supposed to be about that, but Bart had to go through, really. The other interesting thing about this is that Bob Holly and Bart Gunn were in a tag team together before this match started. And I do think because that Bart and Bob are friends, there are times in this match where Bart is throwing punches that are rocking Holly, where later on in this tournament he would have then just carried on wailing on them, punching them, but he doesn't do that. And I wonder if that's because they are actually friends.
It looks like Bart Gunn potentially could have knocked him out in the second round, but he sort of eased off the gas and he knocked out all the other people, so I don't know. Don't look like the type of geezer to ease off the gas in other fights.
After this match they start punching each other, I guess back in kayfabe,
and
that's the breakup of their tag team.
Probably an angle, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Although Bob Holly does spit at him and it's pretty fucking horrible.
Yeah, spits at him, but yeah, and Bart Gunn...
Do you reckon he spat at the bear?
Quite possibly, it's where he learned it. Yeah, we'll go on to the next match. Alright, so Godfather versus Dan Severn. This one wasn't as fun as the last one. It was not that interesting, actually. You've obviously got Severn, who's a trained shoot fighter who's done a lot of MMA. Was he in the UFC?
Yeah, he was in the UFC, yeah.
He was in the UFC, which obviously wasn't as big as it is now.
Still a high level of combat, right?
Yeah, still high level of combat. Godfather, the only shoot fighting experience he's got is that he used to be a bouncer in a nightclub and he used to beat the shit out of people there.
He's scary hairy motherfucker as well, and he's got to be about 6'8" or something.
He's
huge, massive.
He's got such broad shoulders as well.
He looks like he's got some sort of experience in boxing or something like that as well. He looks at his footwork, and that's quite good.
Yeah, he throws a few good punches.
Yeah, definitely. He got unlucky getting put in against Dan 70, really, because you think he would have fucking beaten up and fucking won in against a lot of other people in the tournament.
And Godfather, I think it was in the Dark Side of the Ring interview that he did. He would sit in this bar, and if he saw a pimp come in, he'd basically say, right, who in here's a pimp? And then someone might put a hand up and he'd just beat the shit out of him. So I don't know why he hated pimp so much, considering his character was the Godfather.
Mate, it's so weird though. He'd go, who is a pimp? And they'd just admit it. Why would they admit it? It's like such a bad thing to be.
Maybe not to them.
Do you think you get arrested for that though? Do you think it's a criminal offence being a pimp in America? Like it must be.
I would have thought so.
It is, yeah. So it's just like going in there and going, who is a drug dealer? Someone goes, yeah, I am.
Me.
Yeah, bang. Fucking. It just makes no sense.
Maybe Godfather was he's up for women's rights and all that sort of thing.
No, that was when he was in Right to Censor Touch.
That
was when he used to do it.
I've got it mixed up.
He must have done nightclub bounce while he was in Right to Censor, obviously. On the side.
7 wins it.
He's just looking for a submission that he's not allowed to get. He doesn't really know what he's doing, does he?
Yeah, basically it's like he's trying to fight like it's MMA, but he's just obviously been trained to, as soon as you get your opponent on the ground, you
go straight for a position. That's what you do. So
but you can't do it.
You can't untrain yourself though, can you? It's like muscle memory. He's instinctively going for position as soon as he gets someone on the ground.
7 takes a punch early on in the first round, and from that point onwards, you can see that he's kind of like, oh shit, I'm in trouble with it. If I get knocked out, it could be really bad for me. And of course, he mugs off the rest of the tournament, doesn't he?
He does, and also he just said he's not really got anything to prove against these people, which is also very true. Yeah, obviously, there's nothing that can come out of this tournament for Dan Severn. Obviously, winning 50 grand, obviously, but what I'm saying is, if he just holds everyone on the ground the whole way through and wins, then everyone goes, well, you should have done that anyway. And if he gets knocked out, then it will fucking discredit him as a real fighter badly.
So the risk is much higher than the reward in this situation.
Because he must have been fucking loaded off of fighting in the UFC and that even then. It looks like if they were just having a boxing match, the Godfather might have done alright.
Yeah, exactly. If he wasn't able to attempt the takedowns and stuff. 7 went through, even though he doesn't fight again. But yeah, not much more to report on that one, really. So we just watched Dr. Death Steve Williams versus Pierre of the Quebecers. We realised when Pierre was walking down last time that Pierre, with his eye patch, is exactly the same as the guy from Muppet Treasure Island, who introduced himself as Blind Pierre. Man, I don't know if you've watched much of Muppet Treasure Island out there, listeners, but fucking hell, what a good film that is.
Fucking brilliant. I watched it just literally 4 or 5 days ago. Fucking great film, mate.
Pierre, who has an eye patch on, he has one eye, or one working eye at least, when he comes into this.
His legs are strapped up badly.
Yeah, he's sweating out just on his way down to the ring. And he's come up against Dr. Death Steve Williams, who they've essentially set the tournament up for because they're so certain he's going to win it.
JR says he's the toughest man to ever lace boots.
Have you not seen that guy that works down Clark's and Ramsgate?
He's the toughest guy to ever lace boots.
He looks pretty strong. Anyway, Blind Pierre comes down to the ring and we get this ridiculous thing. As I say, JR's trying to put over Dr. Death Steve Williams so hard that we even get this little vignette from some man who it isn't clear who he is, because the sound mixing on this moment is really, really poor. Like, you can barely hear what he's fucking saying. You've got that stupid Brawl For All music, which I'm absolutely sick of now, having heard it.
I've heard it so much. Because bearing in mind, this is the 3rd time we've watched these fights now.
They don't have the full entrances, I think, because they want to get them in, get them out, or whatever. And so you just get this dun-dun-dun, 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 and it just goes over and over.
It sounds like if you was in the menus on like an old SmackDown game or something. That sort of music's fucking terrible.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm getting pretty sick of that, and we've still got a lot of fights to get through as well. So you've got that playing in the background, you've got this man who you can barely hear, and he's putting over Steve Williams and saying he's the toughest man to ever live or whatever.
Lace boots. Just saying, basically, he just says how hard he is, I think, and he says he's about his footballing career. I think that's what he's talking about.
Right, yeah. Steve Williams obviously was a big deal in Japan. He looks quite tough. He's got very broad shoulders, and you think, he can definitely have a scrap.
He's like a big bull, and he's like as wide shoulders as he is like outwards. He's fucking massive.
Yeah.
And a bit chubby.
It's ridiculous, the scoring system in this, because he does get a lot of the shots. He does absolutely dominate, but there's a thing in the
second round.
It says it's 35-5. There's absolutely no way that is true.
It's not mathematically possible, though.
Nah, he's got 2 minutes at 35. That would mean he's about to have 7 takedowns.
Getting a takedown every like 13 seconds. Or something.
That's definitely not what happens in a match.
I think even the first round, like, yeah, fair enough, like, Dr. Steph does look like he's winning, but it's still quite competitive. Like, Pierre gets a takedown on him and stuff.
Couple punches.
Yeah, in the second and third round, obviously, Williams just fucking destroys him, but...
He's punching him in the back of the head, which pissed me off.
It's a bit out of order, and he's blind. Well out of order.
Unfortunately, that is the last we see of Blind Pierre. Dr. Steph goes through... last we see of Pierre, and I don't actually remember seeing him in a WWE ring again after this.
Oh, mate, I can't say that I fucking watched a lot of the Quebecers, to be honest.
No.
They were in WWE for quite a while, though, weren't they? I think they obviously...
I think they were a big deal before that.
Like 95 and stuff, they were fucking like quite... like kicking about quite big in the tag team division, I'm sure. Like in the early 90s, mid-90s. Because they were feuding with the Bulldogs for a while, weren't they? Yeah,
that was it. Steve Williams absolutely pissed all over him in the end. And again, tournament set up for him to win. Will he go on through the next round? We'll find out soon.
No.
This one we're only going to do a short bit on because we don't actually get the full fight, which seems quite a shame. It's Two Cool Scorpio versus 8 Ball.
Looks like a really good fight.
It looks like a really good fight, yeah. They seem like they're absolutely throwing punches. There's some good takedowns and stuff, but we only get a little replay of it.
It was the first round they were just in the phone box throwing at each other, and then in the second round it was just looks like they were just taking each other down quite well as well for that round.
Yeah, and JR says that then 8 Ball runs out of steam, so it looks like that might be the reason why it then goes in Scorpio's favour.
Catches them peached, didn't he, on the replay of the third round, and then I think he just beats him in the end.
Yeah, shame. Would have liked to have actually watched that one because there's a lot of crap in this tournament.
I feel like they've just done that as the shitty little replay and not showing the full one, not expecting Scorpio and 8 Ball to be very good maybe, and then it turns out it actually was.
Well, apart from anything, they put much more time into Steve Williams' fight, which is on the same episode.
And then Steve Blackman, they're going to put more into that, knowing he's a fighter, Dan Severn, and then they might have seen these and thought, oh, that's going to be shit, and then it turns out to actually be well good.
Yeah, and the fans in one of the earlier matches were shouting, we want wrestling, so maybe they're just thinking, oh shit, we've made a bit of an error by actually putting this tournament on at all, so they're just trying to cut as many matches as possible. Right, so we just watched Dr. Death Steve Williams versus Bart Gunn, and this is where the Brawl For All starts really spicing up. Last time we recorded, you could really see how we were basically talking about the Brawl For All shit, it's a load of rubbish, and by the end we were like, you know what, it actually turned out to be pretty solid, that you got some really good matches in there, even though the outcome of them was bad because of injuries and all that sort of stuff, but the actual terms of the entertainment they provided was relatively solid, and this match was really the start of where that came in.
Yeah, there's a couple of good matches in the first round, but nothing brilliant, but there is a few good ones towards the end. As a whole, it's very entertaining. Even the crowd seemed to get behind it by this point.
Yeah, so Bart and Dr. Death are looking pretty even in the first round, and of course it being Dr. Death's tournament, because JR was really trying to put him over and make him a really big deal. They had him as 15-5 after the first round, which I have no idea where that came from, but it's looking pretty solid. Sorry, I say solid, pretty even, I mean to say. Bart Gunn is throwing good punches, as he tends to throughout the whole tournament. Williams throwing some good punches too. They're both getting some good takedowns in as well. Second round?
I think it's fairly even, but I think Dr. Death was probably winning going into the third round, wasn't he? I think maybe on points. But Bart Gunn didn't look in any trouble, although Dr. Death was probably winning on points by this point.
Yeah, they've both got a takedown each, I think. I think Williams maybe got 2 takedowns and got the punches in that second round, so he probably was just sneaking it in going into that third.
There wasn't a lot in it though.
Nah.
It wasn't a one-sided fight. They put Dr. Death over as if he was going to win so comfortably and smash everyone, but even if it went to points, this would have been quite a tight one, I think.
I would have said so. I think that the WWE, because they wanted Williams to look amazing, would have just said, he won.
Yeah, 105 or something. Yeah, of course they would have put like
105.
Yeah, 500-0 or something like that. But of course.
And then we get a major moment in wrestling history, because Dr. Death Steve Williams was expected to become a big deal in the WWF at the time. He was going to go and partner Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I think I said that I didn't really want to see anyway. But even so, they wanted him to be a big deal. Bart Gunn went to JR on the morning of this fight and said, I'm going to knock out Dr. Death Steve Williams tonight. JR allegedly then spread that around the locker room, and a load of people were coming up to him being like, I hear you're going to knock out Dr. Death Steve Williams tonight.
He was getting it from the background stuff a lot, wasn't he?
Exactly. A lot of people were taking a piss out of him. So he went into this match absolutely steaming. He was furious. He was thinking, I'm definitely going to knock him out now. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Comes to this third round. He starts throwing haymakers, and Dr. Death is starting to look very uneasy towards about the middle of the round.
Then Bart Gunn gets the takedown, doesn't he?
Bart gets a takedown, puts him through the ropes. Yeah, he's starting to look a bit worried at that point.
He's injured his leg, hasn't he, in this takedown as well? I think that was the...
Yeah, I think it was the second takedown that he
Oh, yeah, no, you are right.
Yeah,
It was,
the first one, he goes through the ropes. And the second one, he gets another takedown. And you see when he gets up, he kind of staggers. And I think it looks to me like a pulled hamstring when you think about how important that is to kind of maintain your balance. Then he throws a punch, and you see him almost fall forward onto Bart Gunn. And then Bart Gunn is just like, this is my moment.
Yeah, he smells blood, doesn't he? And lays into him. And then...
absolutely hammers him, gives these big left hands, hooking him and hooking him and hooking him. And then Dr. Death goes down, and he looks tragic in that corner, doesn't he?
Bless him. He looks in a terrible state, doesn't he?
Yeah, I did feel sorry for him a bit, but at the same time I was kind of a little bit like, well, that'll show the WWF for trying to suggest that he would beat everyone when you got obviously some legitimately hard blokes in the ring.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand how they were so confident that he was going to win when you had actual, real fighting men in there like Dan Severn and people like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was going to say, I've watched something with Jim Cornette speaking about this Brawl For All tournament, and he really obviously fucking hated it. And he was quite pissed off about the fact that they were trying to put over Steve Williams, massive. He's saying he was like at the end of his career and he wasn't like good enough to headline anyway. And I do wonder, like, why were they trying to blow him up so big?
It's funny that you say that, because Cornette, from one of the ones that I watched, suggested that Vince Russo cost the company $5 million by having him in this tournament or losing in this tournament. If he'd have won the tournament, or if he hadn't have been in it at all, they could have had him headlining shows.
Why $5 million is very specific, isn't it? Has he got like, was he on like a 5-year contract or something? In a year or something?
I wonder, it's just an estimate of how much he would have been worth to that company had he got over. So yeah, interesting that Cornette says that, but was he really worth that at this stage of his career? I'm not really sure.
Obviously you've never really seen, well, I don't know if you have, but I can imagine most people haven't really seen him wrestle very much before this. If he was massive in Japan, was he in WCW or anything?
He was, but I don't remember him being very big in it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So then he fucked off to Japan. Obviously, fair enough, he might have done good things in Japan, made his name, but if he was in New Japan, I might have a look on their network later and see what he was all about.
Yeah, apparently he was really over there.
Because you can get the 90s stuff on there, so I'll probably have a look. How good can he have been?
Yeah, Gunn knocks him out badly, and his mouthguard falls out. He's on the floor looking like a very concerned turtle, poking his little tongue out. The doctors are failing to put him on his side, even though he is clearly like close to being unconscious. It's quite worrying and boring.
Yeah, it's a bad knockout. You don't want to see anyone fucking looking like that, really.
Exactly. But yeah, fair play to Bart Gunn going in there and winning that match, because yeah, like I say, it seemed to have turned wrestling history in a particular course, even though it sadly didn't work out for him from that point onwards.
That one's for you, James, buddy.
That's what he says right at the end.
It looks like he says that, doesn't he? He definitely says that one's for you, James.
Yeah, but we wondered if he might have been referencing Jim Ross, because obviously Jim had been saying that Williams was going to win and taking a piss out of him for saying that he's going to knock him out.
Potentially, but either that or he's just dedicating it to his other friend James, maybe. I don't know.
Jim Ross on the dark side of the ring basically says, oh no, it wasn't actually, it was on his podcast, he was saying, it's such a lie that I was saying that Williams was going to win it. It took a lot for me to recover from that professionally, because people were saying I said he was going to win and all that sort of stuff, but I did never say that. But you know, you can so clearly hear from his commentary that he wants him to do well.
Yeah, they're both from Oklahoma as well, aren't they? They're both like,
yeah, they're buddies, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So surely he was. You're obviously going to want your mate to win, aren't you? Why couldn't he want his mate to win?
And Ross was also talent liaison at the time, so I'm guessing if he's just signed him, he's thinking, please get over, because that's important to me, because we've just spent quite a lot of money on bringing him in or whatever.
Yeah, of course. I suppose it's like director of sport at a football team, isn't it, where they need their transfers to do well.
Exactly.
So it's the same sort of premise, isn't it? If he's brought him in going, this is the geezer, he's going to headline him there, and then he comes in, he's shit, it makes him look bad, I suppose, doesn't it? Obviously it's good to see Dr. Death lose, because I know the company wanted him to win, but it's not nice to see him like that, the way he is at the end of this fight.
Yeah.
Joe, this sums it up why it was a bad idea.
Definitely. So just watch Godfather versus Two Cool Scorpio. It was a decent little boxing contest, this. I mean, it wasn't particularly exciting from a knockout's point of view, or even a takedowns point of view.
No successful takedowns, was there? 2 attempts, but
yeah, I mean, Scorpio's trying to take him down, but Godfather's just a bigger guy. His punches are landing a little bit harder.
Godfather's takedown defence is really good.
Yeah, I think you said that on the off.
Yeah, he sprawls perfectly. I might have already said that, yeah.
Yeah. as you say, he falls forward and tries to get back, and he tries to make a reversal, which of course you're not allowed to do in the Brawl For All.
It's called a sprawl, that drop. It's a proper takedown defence that you're supposed to do. It's really sharp. He's really good.
These two clearly got some boxing experience. Scorpio in particular looks really good technically, but the size difference just seems to put it in Godfather's favour, who wins 15-0. He basically just gets the most punches every one of the rounds.
It was good to watch though. It wasn't a bad fight. It was well matched. It was a bit boring, but it definitely wasn't wrestling, so I can imagine the crowd didn't like this one very much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about that one. Godfather goes through. We just watched Droz versus Savio Vega. It was a good match actually. Droz is throwing massive punches. He's a big guy, obviously ex-American footballer.
Yeah, he played in the NFL. He must have been fucking good.
Yeah, he's got that body, and he's a big, strong guy. So he's good at the takedown, and of course he's got his massive arms that mean that whenever he throws a punch, or at least when he lands them, they mean something.
I wouldn't want to get fucking hit by him. Mate, no chance. He's massive, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. And Vega stands up to it. He's doing fine, but it's quite a comfortable win for Droz. Droz, I love him for the Brawl For All because you can just see that he's just a lovely geezer. He throws the punches, he rocks the other guy, and then he takes a couple of steps back and just lifts his hand up. He's like, "Don't worry, man, I'm not going to beat the shit out of you." He just wants to win. He doesn't want to actually hurt anyone.
Nah, he's just he's not a fucking prick at all, is he? He's not like all the weirdos like Steve Williams and fucking all them.
Oh, and Bradshaw.
Bradshaw's
yeah, Bradshaw fights like a total.
Yeah.
Droz is not like that. He'll
just seems
do his takedown, he'll stand up, and he'll give him a few steps so they can have their chance.
Yeah, he's really just like sparring. You can see he doesn't seem to be taking it that seriously either. Although he wants to win, obviously, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it's quite a decent one, and the crowd is starting to get behind this. I'm not saying that they think that it's the best idea in wrestling of all time or anything, however...
Put massive for that takedown, though.
Yeah, when Droz gets a takedown in the second round, and I don't think it's just because Droz is massively over, but
no.
I don't think he is.
Droz can't have been massively over in this. He's a weird like tag team gimmick guy, isn't he?
I can't remember if we said this, so if we have already, then I'll cut it out. But Droz's big thing is he's known as Puke by people in the wrestling business, and apparently he can puke on command. So when Vince met him and found this out, now Vince McMahon thinks that bodily functions are the funniest thing in the world. He thinks that
he's fucking weirdo, isn't he?
farts, poos, and pisses. Yeah, and sick is also on that list. Hates sneezing though. Don't sneeze in his presence.
What do you think he makes of like? It's a bit crude, but you know, ejaculation. I haven't thought about that. Do you think he finds that that must be the funniest one to him?
I bet he does find that funny.
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah. He's like, imagine it, mate. He's so weird, isn't he?
Do you remember the live sex celebration?
What, Edge and Lita?
We've got to cover that at some point.
Oh, that was fucking horrible. That was so horrible.
But anyway, when he found out that Droz, known as Puke, could puke on command, he would apparently just like bring him to his office and go, "Do the thing," and he would just do it, and Vince would just find it hilarious.
Droz, buddy, do the
That's good shit.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, Droz wins it comfortably, and he goes into the next round, and that's the last we see of Vega in the Brawl For All.
It was a good fight.
Oh, I forgot to mention actually, Droz won against Hawk in the last round, but Hawk was pulled out due to injuries.
Yeah, Hawk gets put through and then pulls out, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a draw and he goes through, but he gets pulled out for injuries. And also, Dan Severn in the last round we forgot to mention, he pulled out, so even though the Godfather lost his previous match, he went through. Because Severn had pulled out, and Severn basically said, "I've decided that I'm not going to fight anymore because I'm going to fight when my hands are not tied."
Yeah.
That's my Dan Severn impression for
I hate that fucking...
impression.
No, not the impression. The impression's fine. I hate the promo.
Yeah, it makes him look like a bit of a bumhole, doesn't it?
He looks like a robot. There's no emotion at all. It's fucking weird. And he's wearing a weird suit as well. Weird moustache.
Apparently Severn was like the nicest guy in wrestling. Like, he was just like a really nice geezer.
He looks like he could definitely be coming in to teach like an English lesson or like a supply teacher or something, doesn't he?
I think he looks a bit like Magnum PI.
Yeah, like a private investigator.
Or if he was coming into a 70s porn movie.
Oh,
any of those things. It's quite funny that you think he looks like an English teacher and I think he looks like a porn star.
It says a lot about your sexual preferences.
My English teacher was obviously a porn star.
Yeah.
So we just watched Bradshaw versus Marmara. It's one of the more interesting ones of the Brawl For All because first of all you've got these two massive differences in styles that Bradshaw can't really throw a punch. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of power in his punches, but he's just got no technique whatsoever. So he's just got to use his weight and his strength to get takedowns over and over. Whereas Marmara is obviously a Golden Gloves champion boxer.
Yeah, he's sharp as anything, isn't he?
He looks very technically correct, so he's always getting more punches, he's always getting more body shots, he's always getting behind that defence, but he just doesn't have the weight behind him to land a knockout. So when you've only got like the amount of punches only counts for 5 and every single takedown counts for 5, Bradshaw just doesn't. But it's a real shame because the first 2 rounds they get 5 each. Bradshaw gets the takedown, Mero gets the punches. And in the third round, Mero's got the punches, and Bradshaw wins the takedown by pretty much cheating.
Yeah, the referee says break, doesn't he? And Bradshaw continues with the takedown, and then
yeah.
So gives him the points.
Exactly. He's saying break, 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 and Mero gets taken down after he says that, so he should have obviously let go. And then the referee gives the 5 points, and then Mero shouts, "You fucking shouted break!"
That was a terrible decision. I don't know how they fucking let him give that for.
It was. It must be frustrating when you're thinking 50 grand's on the line.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
was that a lot of money to Mark Mero, do you think, then?
it's a lot of money to anyone, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, but if you fucking, like, say, like, I don't know, top of the card like Austin or someone, what was he on?
Yeah, he was making tons out of merch.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that many people were buying Mark Mero shirts.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you are right, but they probably were buying Sable fucking shit. She was massive, wasn't she? And he was like riding her.
I told you last time about that time Mark Mero was lying down to let Sable pin him and then reversed it into a cradle and starts cheering and that. That's over the age of 98, by the way.
He was in a massive feud with her, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah.
She was massive, wasn't she? Though massive, yeah.
The excitement he shows when he wins is just excellent. I love it.
I'm sure I heard somewhere she was like the second highest paid in the WWE after or the WWF at that time. I'm pretty sure.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Russo and that will fancy her as well, so she was getting put over massive, wasn't she?
Yeah, that probably helped.
Have you not heard that Russo had a proper crush on her and he was just putting her over massive?
Well, I bet she was just like, get away from me.
Yeah, it's such a creep. Yeah, but she seems like the type of woman that would use it to her advantage. She's a bit of a fucking arsehole, isn't she?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, like everything behind the scenes, like all this shit. That isn't like me just being a cunt, but all the shoot stuff and that I've seen about her is everyone says she's horrible and that.
Do you know who else is a fucking arsehole?
Who?
Bradshaw.
Yeah, oh yeah, certainly.
In this match, he's such a bastard.
Yeah, he's
like,
an absolute wanker.
He's just always holding too long. He's like, when he realises that he's ahead and on the pins later on, he just holds him down and all that sort of stuff. He's just doing every dirty trick he can.
It's a horrible push, and he like pushes him like off the floor when he's told to get up and stuff.
I hate him. When I watch Droz and I'm like, oh, he just lets him go and he's just being a nice guy and holding his hands up, and you watch Bradshaw and it's just like the exact opposite. It's just like JBL will be absolutely ashamed of his son after this.
Yeah, of course he would, mate. He'd
be disgusted.
He's shaking his head, hanging his head in shame. Bradshaw was fucking disappointed himself in this, didn't he? Let himself down, really.
Through to the semi though.
Yeah, of course, a win's a win, mate. He fucking won, but unfair.
At what cost?
Unfair win.
At what cost?
At what cost? The cost of his pride.
Okay, so we're back on our third recording for the Brawl For All. I'm still loving the music as much as ever.
You'll be getting there. I'd forgotten you hated that, to be fair. It's like refresh button for me. I forgot about it. Well, there's not many fights left outside.
Nah, there's 3 left. We just watched one. Before we get going though, just want to say a quick get well soon, Ray Phoenix. We watched the tag match last night and it wasn't pretty. His arm's gone backwards, and as someone who's had a backwards arm myself over the last year, I don't wish it upon anyone, so get well soon, Ray Phoenix.
Sounds horrible. Yeah, let's hope his arm's not backwards for too long. Let's hope it goes the right way.
Great wrestler. hope to see a lot more of you, my man. We just watched Godfather versus Bart Gunn, and this match is the best and the worst of the Brawl For all in one. It starts off with the hilarity of, as the Godfather's walking down to the ring, we get a call from none other than
Bill Clinton, President. President Bill Clinton.
They just call him the president because obviously they don't want to get in any litigation over saying that it's actually Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton's just out of the Monica Lewinsky scandal where I don't know my American politics that well, but my understanding is that he got impeached for getting a blowjob in the Oval Office from Monica Lewinsky, who was like his press secretary or something like that. Don't hold me to that. Intern, that's right. And as the Godfather's walking to the ring, he's saying hello to King for one thing, because I think that King is as filthy as
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, if not considerably worse.
I think he's probably worse.
Much worse. So we get the call from the president. He's saying, look at them, the Godfather's hoes, they look like they'd make really good interns for me. And of course King's laughing his ass off, thinking it's the funniest thing in the world. And then we get into the ring. Bart Gunn is looking ready for it. He wants that money. He wants that. He can sniff the win from here. Go on, tell us what you heard Godfather say in the shoot interviews.
I watched an interview and I can't remember what channel it was on. It's on YouTube. But yeah, he just basically said he was not expecting to lose at all in the Brawl For All. We ended up losing twice. He it literally said in his own words in the build-up he had never lost a fight in his life, and then he lost twice, and it's just, he wasn't concerned by anyone. He thought he was going to easily knock anyone out, so it was just a bit of a shock. But
yeah, he had a long history of a lot of bar fights and seems to be winning them, much like Bob Holly apparently.
Yeah.
Turns out that bar fights don't translate too well to the Brawl For All.
No, exactly that. He said he had never lost a fight in his life, and then obviously he just did no training at all apparently. Other guys, well, I think Bart Gunn being one of them, were actually training a bit, doing like punching a bag and doing a bit of cardio and stuff like that, and Godfather was just getting stoned, so...
The match starts and they trade a few blows, and it's looking, I don't know, relatively even for about 30 seconds, and then
yeah, the first round's quite even. The Godfather's laying some good shots into Bart Gunn's body at one point in the corner.
Yeah, you're thinking, because Godfather's a big guy, he's a big thick guy, really throwing in them punches into the abdominal region.
Them ham-like hands.
His ham-like boxing gloves. And fair play to Bart Gunn, he just seems to be stiffing it out. He's just sort of keeping his hands high, not even bothering to try and block in that area. And then Bart Gunn is like, I've had enough of this. I don't want to get punched in the belly no more.
Round 2, he just starts steaming into him, doesn't he?
Well, he knocks him down at the end of the first round as well, doesn't he?
Is that the first round, is it?
Yeah, it's not the knockout.
Yeah, sorry.
But he starts laying in these big lefts, and really the referee should have been stopping it. Godfather is out on his feet, and it shows that he's obviously a tough guy who's been punched a few times in his life, that he can stand there and just take it. But you've got to be stopping
as well. It's like five, maybe 6, isn't it? Consecutive, just like shot, and they're big shots as well. I don't know why he's not protecting his head.
I wondered if after 2 or 3 he just couldn't.
He's probably just out on his feet, wouldn't he? I would have thought. But...
yeah, and we said at the start, it's one of the problems with the Brawl For All is that these wrestlers don't know how to defend themselves in a boxing match. It's one of the big issues, and yeah, if Godfather hadn't got a serious concussion just after them, let alone the knockout punch, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, you would have thought something can't just get hit in the head like that, can you, and have no consequences. Like, it was pretty bad.
And when he gets knocked down at the end of the first, he also goes back over his left knee, and it didn't look pretty either. Like, it could have easily been quite a lot of damage on his knee in that situation.
Yeah,
well.
I think he did quite badly injure himself from that fall. I think he was out for a few months after that with some sort of injury. I'm pretty sure that got covered in that interview as well. It wasn't nice, it wasn't pretty. I was just going to add that in that interview that I watched, he said that they all knew sort of that this tournament was set up to put over Dr. Death, but he was just well confident that he could have easily knocked out Dr. Death, because Dr. Death was 20 years past his prime. He said maybe when he was a young guy he might have been able to fucking hang with him, but he's just like, he's an old man.
I was laughing about off mic with Weston. I heard a story the other day about, I think it was the Legion of Doom, and it was definitely Dr. Death that was mentioned in the story, but there was a story going around about him getting coked up with the Legion of Doom, and they were running around one of the stadiums naked before all the spectators all came in. Spreading around the stadium, chasing each other, whipping each other with towels and that.
I mean, it's such a weird sight,
Sniffed
mate.
up.
It's such a weird thing to see. Imagine walking in and seeing them 3 fucking horrible men running around, whipping each other.
That was when I was in WCW, by the way. I think it was about 94 or something like that. But anyway, so we go into the second round of this one, and Godfather's clearly done. He can't do much more. Bart Gunn hits him, and then finally throws it. I think he finished it with a right, doesn't he? Which makes a change.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a right hook. Godfather doesn't look like he sees it coming at all. He doesn't see it coming, does he? It's the ones that you don't see coming that hurt the most. Yeah. Sleeping, absolutely unconscious.
Yeah, he falls onto his face and his head's sort of like hanging out of the ring, and somewhat disrespectfully the cameraman gets right up over his face as he's laying there, and you can just see the dribble kind of pouring out of his mouth. It's quite disgusting. Should have been stopped before, but again, the best of the Brawl For All because you saw some amazing punches, the worst of the Brawl For All because they did not protect their talent whatsoever.
Yeah, the worst in the case, he was definitely injured his leg, and there was no defence at all. It's just like, it was bad. It was horrible to watch, to be fair. But
interesting question, I suppose. Are these boxing referees? I'm guessing they wouldn't be.
No, they'd be wrestling referees, wouldn't they?
Half the job, at least of the wrestling referee, is to check that the wrestlers are good to carry on fighting, like making accounts, and then when they're down, they're getting in their ear saying, "Are you good?" All that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. But with this, they're just obviously letting them fucking just go at it, isn't they? Which is obviously it's just, I don't know how it got this far, to be honest. I don't know why no one had stepped in and gone, come on.
And West, I don't know if you know, but the boxing referees, are they trained to recognise the signs of concussion while a certain person's like standing or something like that,
Yeah,
so they know
100%.
when to stop the fight.
Yeah, if you watch a fight now, this was in '98 though, but if you watch a boxing match in '98 to a boxing match now, you can see where they've tightened up on stuff like that. They'll jump in a lot earlier than they would have done probably when this was going on, but still, even then, the boxing referees would have known when someone was hurt. When a fight should have been stopped, when they're out on their feet and stuff, they see signs, or they would have delivered a standing 8 count, which is how they get around that and give someone 10 seconds to get themselves together or whatever, and actually assess whether they're fit to carry on or not.
Yeah, I wonder if they were told not to do that. There's a couple of times where they did do it in the
there
Brawl
is,
For All, but they're 1 minute rounds, so it doesn't really give much opportunity. Once Bart Gunn is crowned the winner in this one, he has his hand lifted, he climbs out of the ring, goes to the commentary table, and he says something along the lines to Jim Ross: "I deserve some respect on my name, and it's about time you give it to me, Jim." Something like that. James. Jimothy. And Jim Ross is clearly a little bit shaken by it, but he's like, "You'll get it. You're deserving it. You're earning it." But yeah, it must have been quite uncomfortable for him. I think this is all back round to the Dr. Death stuff, where people were laughing at Gunn about it.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was about, wasn't it? Because everyone backstage was just saying he was going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
But then they all thought he was going to get fucked up throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Probably after, they're probably all going, "Oh well, the Godfather's going to knock him out now, so sweet." And then the Godfather thought he was going to knock him out. There's no doubt in his mind at all. He was probably the least favourite out the whole tournament, I would have thought, going into it.
Quite possibly. Yeah, him or Blind Pierre.
Yeah, Blind Pierre can't have been right up there, can he?
Or Mark Canterbury, I can't imagine he was up to much either. But yeah, we go on to the second semi-final. Okay, so we just watched Droz versus Bradshaw in the second semi-final. It starts off with a brilliant little, what would you call it, West?
I don't know. What would you call it, Toad?
I guess it's a little promo package for Droz, but it's the weirdest one you've ever seen, man.
Is it a promo? It's not a promo.
It barely promotes him, does it, really?
I don't know what it is. It's good though. It's good.
I'd recommend watching it, whatever you do. Basically, you've got Droz sat by a bin because his gimmick is that he pukes all the time, and he just it's him just throwing up, and then he'll say something like, "Yeah, I've got some tattoos. They're on my back. They help to sculpt my body. Yeah, and they all tell a story. Every one of them."
Why? Why is he puking? Why? Why is that his gimmick? Why? I want to know why. There must be some sort of fucking reasoning. How did this get over? How is this good?
The funny thing is that I sent Weston a video yesterday, because I've been watching some of 99 lately. There's a video of him, and he's just stood with Prince Albert. So this is a good year, maybe even longer than a year after the Brawl For All, and his gimmick is still, "I just love to throw up." He's just standing in the changing room next to Prince Albert, and Michael Cole, very young Michael Cole, says, "So what's your plan for tonight in the match then, boys?" And then fucking Albert goes, and then they just walk out for the match. Weird as fuck.
I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. I cannot get my head around it. And I understand it was a different time, but how did this ever get over? How did they think this was a good idea, creative?
Oh, Vince loves it, doesn't he? He loves any bodily
What about that
function.
weird little man, that pops up? That vignette or whatever it was.
This little man, he goes, "What, Droz? Anybody who yaks is fine by me."
Yeah, anyone who yaks is alright in my book.
That's what he says, yeah.
He's some weird little man as well. I want to know who he is.
Yeah, I've never seen him before. But it does give me great joy that even if I lost every one of my friends and family, having yacked myself at some point, I will still have one friend.
Yeah, you'll be alright by him still. Definitely.
I'll still be in his book.
You'll be alright by him. What the fuck? It's so weird. None of it makes any sense. None of it.
We then get into the match. I think that you've got the nicest man in the whole of the Brawl For All against the biggest bastard in the whole of the Brawl For All. Droz being the nice guy, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you like Bradshaw that much?
Nah, fuck Bradshaw.
Yeah, he's a fucking right.
Yeah.
He really is. He's just such a horrible man.
Yeah, so they just basically trade blows for the whole thing. But Bradshaw gets one takedown, does he? Oh, no, sorry.
Droz gets the takedown.
Droz gets a takedown in the second round?
Yeah, in the second round. First round's pretty even, they're just exchanging. Bradshaw gets the points. The second round, Droz gets the takedown. I would have said Droz won the punching in that round as well, but...
Yeah, we both said that. Bradshaw, I think, clearly wins the third round because Droz just looks absolutely exhausted. I don't think he's hurt, I don't think he's...
just knackered, isn't he?
Yeah, it's sort of just like he doesn't quite have the cardio for boxing, which is understandably really...
He does shoot for a takedown as well, and that is quite tiring. So he's actually... I think he makes 3 takedowns attempts in this, and obviously one of them comes off. If I had been left to score this, I would have said it was a draw in that third round. But obviously, they didn't want Droz to win, probably.
It looked like 10-0, it maybe should have gone to the next round. But yeah, like you say, they probably didn't want Droz to win. His gimmick is puking. They probably saw a bigger future for Bradshaw. You know, his dad is JBL, who's obviously a big star, so second generation superstar.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's the way things go, isn't it?
Mate, Bradshaw's just got this look on his face. Throughout the whole thing, I just kept thinking he's just such a prick. Honestly, before I think it was in between rounds, and they just go to Bradshaw's face, and he's just got this horrible look on his face. He's just so horrible.
It's just there's just nothing likeable about him.
Not at all.
Yeah, you can understand why Vince Russo wanted to see him get his ass kicked, but alas,
he hasn't seen it yet.
Not as yet. We'll wait to find out what happens in the next match, I guess. Sad to see Droz go.
R.I.P.
Droz is still alive.
Yeah, I know it is, but rest in peace his Brawl For All chances.
Yeah. Okay, so we just watched the final, Bradshaw versus Bart Gunn, and not a huge amount to talk about because it barely went 30 seconds, I don't think.
Yeah, because obviously with Bradshaw going down and all the rest of it, I think if you took that out and actually just had punch time, it's about 10 seconds, isn't it? 15 seconds.
It's not long at all. Yeah, for the first 10 seconds he hits him a couple of times. I think Bradshaw does get one good punch, or at least it landed somewhere. Then Bart Gunn knocks it down with the left, he goes down, he looks even more punch drunk stupid than he already does.
He's stiff, that's the thing, that's why I said that I think they should have stopped it after the first knockdown, because at one point he's on the floor and he's stiff in an awkward position. It's like, yeah, he's unconscious. Don't go stiff. Like, the human body doesn't do that. The rigid, that's what happens when you're unconscious. So yeah, be it only for a second, he was unconscious for a second. He shouldn't have been allowed to get back up, but he is. And then he gets put unconscious again, even worse.
Exactly. Bart Gunn then gets him on proper
left, right, good night.
Left, right, good night. Bradshaw goes down, and as you say, he goes stiff, and it looks like he's trying to do the worst worm in history. He basically, like, I don't know, he's trying to get himself up onto his knees without using his hands. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen people trying to do that, like if they're laid on the floor and it's like, oh yeah, you've got to get up onto your knees without using your hands. That's what it looks like he's doing. It just ends up being, yeah.
I can't imagine that's very nice to watch. And neither was Bradshaw lying there on the floor, to be fair.
Nah, it wasn't. Like, I don't like Bradshaw, but I didn't really like seeing him on the floor, even though I was laughing at the fact that he'd like been knocked out. Didn't want him to actually be hurt.
Yeah, I like the fact that he got beaten up, but I don't like the fact that they shouldn't have been allowed to go this far. It's terrible. But
yeah, you get to see Bart Gunn celebrating. Jim Ross finally puts him over, even though it seems to be...
Seems for Stephen then.
Yeah, he's putting over Bradshaw and putting over Bart Gunn by saying, he beat this guy who is amazing.
Yeah, that is basically what they say, isn't it? Even at the beginning of the match, they're going, oh, he's beaten some tough son of a bitch. It's just like, oh, what, so...
What about him?
Yeah, exactly. They're putting him over just by talking about who he's beaten. So when are they just going to go, yeah, actually, he's quite hard. Yeah, he's good. Punching, like, whatever, I don't know. God knows.
Bart Gunn doesn't lose his cool once throughout the whole tournament. He looks just like a stone cold killer the whole time. He looks so impressive. You know, he didn't look in trouble in any of the matches. He gets rocked once maybe, but I don't mean as in he looks like he's about to get knocked over. It's like, you know,
he just gets caught stiff, doesn't he, once or twice.
He gets rocked back onto his back foot and then goes cracks on with the next one. He looks impressive, and you know, this is the sort of thing that really should have ended up being the start of his push. If it was Dr. Death, it would have been the start of his push. If it was anyone else, I feel like it would have been the start of their push. But we're going to go straight into what was the aftermath of the Brawl For All, because we talked very much about what was the stuff that led into it, with Vince Russo wanting to see Bradshaw get his ass kicked, and
which he did.
Yep, the money being on the table. Then went into talking about the actual matches, and now, do you want to kick us off, West? What's the overarching feeling about what the Brawl For All was, and what were the problems that were caused by it?
Well, I think the overarching feeling is that it was fucking terrible and it should never have been allowed to happen, which I do totally understand, because you, like we've said throughout, you're putting a load of people who are untrained in actual combat, actual legitimate shoot fighting, and you're making them shoot fight. Not only that, the talent wasn't protected at all. They had so many injuries come out of this. I mean, who didn't get injured? I think Bart Gunn and fucking Bradshaw were the only people that didn't get some sort of injury injury throughout this.
Yeah, Steve Blackman got injured. The Godfather was injured. He fell on his knee.
Dr. Death.
Dr. Death had the hamstring injury plus whatever concussion-based injuries that he would have had.
Who else? I can't. There's so many. Honestly, it's literally if you went through
Hawk.
Yeah, it's pretty much all of them were injured. Like 70-80% of them were injured from this, and not only physical injuries to their career. How badly their careers were damaged by it. Because if you look now after this, no one came out better other than the Godfather and Bradshaw.
And Vega also, Savio Vega. So yeah, you're looking at a hell of a lot of injuries. And as you say, the careers as well. So you're looking at Dr. Death, planning to put him over big with Stone Cold. They couldn't do that anymore. Jim Cornette, who's in the Dark Side of the Ring documentary, he gets pretty wild and crazy looking about how he talks about the Brawl For All on the whole. And he talks about the company losing $5 million
on Dr. Death, that was.
Yeah.
Specifically on Dr. Death. So I can understand why Jim Cornette gets so pissed off about it, because
he's like the king of kayfabe, isn't he?
Exactly. This is like, if you're talking about old school, traditional, carnival, professional wrestling, this is so against everything it stands for. It is supposed to be, with want of a better word, it's supposed to be pretend fighting that's going to convince the audience into thinking that it's real, so nobody gets hurt and everyone gets paid.
Absolutely.
That's what they're supposed to be doing. So this is just literally, it goes against everything that these old school sort of purist traditional pro wrestling people are against. It should never have happened. Yep. It should never have happened. But then there's the other side of the coin that we spoke about earlier, of what Vince Russo even says as well in the Dark Side of the Ring, is from a consumer standpoint, it is entertaining. And I am a consumer, and towards the end I did find it entertaining. And the crowd, the first they were booing, and saying this is boring and we want wrestling and all the rest of it. By the last sort of 5-6 matches, you didn't hear any of it. Everyone was behind it. Everyone wanted to know what was going to happen. There's no way you could have been watching this every week and not wanted to know what was going to happen.
Exactly. The crowd were getting behind Droz in one of the matches in a way that was just unheard of before that. You could argue that Droz got over a little bit from this more than he was before. But as you say, Vince Russo, his job is to entertain the crowds. I don't think he really gave a fuck about what wrestling meant and what it was to the purists or the traditionalists or anyone else. He was there to entertain the people.
Yeah.
And did he do that job? And my argument would be, based on what we've seen from the first 4 or 5 matches where we want wrestling, this is boring, all of this stuff, and by the end people were cheering and they wanted to see the Brawl For All. Did they think it was the best thing on the card? I very much doubt it. Stone Cold was absolutely enormous at the time. Yeah, however, they weren't tired of it, they weren't sick of it. It grew in the favour of the Brawl For All over the time, and Vince Russo in that sense did his job.
Yeah, so this is the final that we're watching here. They're well behind this by now, the crowd, everyone's excited. I'm not saying it could have been a repeating segment. I'm not saying if they'd done a Brawl For All every single Raw, would it have got over? No, people would have soon got bored of it after this. But in the tournament format that it was, as they got towards the end of the tournament with this match, of course people wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And it is entertaining. And that is, like you say, that is just Vince Russo was literally just putting bums on seats.
Yeah.
That was all he was there to do. And did it put bums on seats? Would you have paid to see this final? Yeah, of course you would have. If that was on the card, that would have made you want to watch this Raw, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Brawl For All final, Bradshaw thing. Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of those. Yeah, fucking hell, I want to see who wins this, definitely. Of course. And everyone wanted to see Bradshaw get kicked in as well. So, I don't know what my take on it is, because obviously I don't want to see wrestlers getting injured. Of course, I love wrestling, so why would I want to see these wrestlers getting injured?
It feels a little bit like when we talked about The Undertaker in the last one, when I was saying The Undertaker put himself through hell year in, year out for about 10 years just getting him ready for WrestleMania and destroying his body the way that he did it. Did I want him to destroy his body? No. But was I entertained by the matches that he put on?
No.
Yes, for the most part, in that period. Long career. That period was good. Yeah. Do I want wrestlers getting injured? No. But they've done it. Was I entertained? Nothing I'm going to say at this moment in time. 20 years after the fact. 24 years after the fact.
Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it?
I'm not going to change time and make it different.
Of course you're not. As a consumer standpoint, did you like it? Yes. Yeah. Did we have fun watching it, talking about it? Yes. So.
Yeah. I could, as an 8-year-old, have flown to America, got in the ring and said to the WWF universe at the time,
don't do this,
don't do the Brawl For All. But I didn't. I just didn't think about it.
Selfish. Selfish.
I'm disgusted at myself for having not done it, but it's too late now. You can't live in the past.
No, you can't. It was nice to see Bart Gunn doing well as well, because he obviously wasn't going to get pushed any other way.
Tell us about what happened to Bart Gunn after this point, West.
So I think they didn't book him at all now from this, did they? For a while, I think it was quite a long while, and he sat at home, waiting to hear what they were going to do with him, and they sort of didn't have anything to do with him, although he was promised to get fucking shot to the moon after this. And then they were just sort of humming and ahhing what to do, and then they ended up putting him against Butterbean in a boxing match at WrestleMania.
It was WrestleMania 16, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously Bart Gunn again, like in the Brawl For All. Yeah, fair enough. He knocked out all the other wrestlers, but then when you're gonna put him against a professional boxer, it's
15.
It's not gonna last very long, is it? And it didn't last very long.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
we probably should watch it, shouldn't we?
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, we're talking about it and pretending that it doesn't exist or something. We don't have it right at our fingertips, so we probably should go and watch it, and then we'll come back and tell you a bit more about it.
It's still part of the Brawl For All, isn't it?
It is.
As long as it's got the music, it's part of the Brawl For All.
So after 3 long weeks and around 6 hours of recording, we finally have had our final Brawl For All match.
Music.
We've heard the music for one final time. It's going on my playlist, my running playlist, on repeat, because I love it that much.
How long is it? Do you think you could just get it like an hour long, no gap?
Well,
just on repeat.
What I didn't realise until tonight is that it doesn't just go dun 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 dun. It's actually got this little riff after it goes down 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 down.
Really?
Dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's got this little nice little riff that.
Do you think they added that in at the semi-final?
Oh, maybe.
Do you think that was because I don't remember that being there at the beginning. I've fucking heard it now.
No, so funny. I'm so glad this is over. I have enjoyed it, but
it's been emotional this one, hasn't it?
It has, because we've had to watch it twice because of the fuck up. It's been quite painful, but we did get to watch just now Butterbean versus Bart Gunn at WrestleMania 15 in the final of the Brawl For All, and this is punishment, man.
Yeah, it's fucking bad. It's well bad. It's so out of order. Why did they do this to him? It's just why? It was their own idea.
I know. Vince has basically gone, this is your punishment for knocking out Dr. Death. I'm going to leave you on the sidelines for ages, and then you're going to come back and get knocked out by... He's a monster of a man, isn't he? He's a monster of a man.
How long did they leave? Firstly, how long did they leave him?
Well, the last Raw that we watched was late August.
So this is like fucking March.
7 months.
Jesus Christ, yeah, they left him for ages, didn't they?
Yeah.
WrestleMania's always in March, isn't it? Or is it April?
April.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, they left him a long time. How well they've trained him over that time, I don't know if they've tried to train him or what, or if he's hired his own coach or what. Because
he looked like he had some sort of training. Not enough, but he looked like he had some sort of training. You could tell by his stance and stuff.
Yeah, he made it look like he was somewhat ready. But against a man who has had... Did you say... Or was it the commentator said he'd had 48 fights?
Yeah, I didn't say that. But yeah, I'm sure it's 50 or more. Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously 48 in this, but by the end of his career.
Yeah, it was 48 fights, 46 wins, 1 draw, 39 knockouts. He's a knockout merchant.
Yeah, of course he is. He had MMA fights. He was just a prize fighter because he was never anywhere near getting an actual world heavyweight championship, like boxing championship. But he was just a prize fighter, and he was like pop culture. He was all over the place, MTV at the time, and this, that, and the other, and just beating people up, knocking people out. That's all he did.
Yeah, he was there for the entertainment, not for the actual. Yeah, he got bums and seats, didn't he? But not necessarily for the world's best boxer, but because it was entertaining to watch him punch people. This wasn't very entertaining in my view, because I've grown to quite like Bart Gunn over the time, and I feel sorry for him for the way that he's been treated by WWF. And the knockout punch, he goes in, first of all, Butterbean catches him 2 or 3 times, he gets rocked, then he gets knocked down, he gets back up, they do a standing count.
They give him an 8 count, don't they? Because Bart Gunn's on his knees, so he still stands up on 8, and then but he just steams into him, doesn't he? He just feints a body shot and hits him with an overhand right, and if his neck wasn't so strong, his head would have gone flying off into the crowd.
Yeah, it didn't look pretty. I felt bad for him. I felt really, really bad for him. That was, I guess, his punishment. And do we see him again after this? I think he had a couple of matches here or there, but they kind of intentionally killed his career just so that he could give, I guess, a bit of star power to WrestleMania by bringing Butterbean in.
Yeah, definitely. They wanted to kill Bart Gunn. This is what you get for fucking ruining our thing.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do it on a big stage, so that's why they did it at WrestleMania. They just embarrassed him. That's exactly what they did. But obviously, by having him fight Butterbean and all the rest of it, they embarrassed him in a way that would be entertaining, that they knew that would sell things. Oh, I was going to say, we were saying, oh yeah, he's not like going to be a heavyweight champion boxer, which is true. But don't get it twisted. Like, just because he's a big fat bloke, he is a devastator.
Yeah.
Like he would do that to anyone on 6 months boxing training or whatever it was that Bart Gunn had. He is a deadly man. He is absolutely probably one of the top 0.1% of heavyweight boxers in the world at the time.
Yeah.
So
and we're looking at Bart Gunn in the Brawl For All and saying, yeah, he looks alright in terms of his boxing, but obviously it's just nowhere near the same standard, and he doesn't look like a big guy when he's in the ring with Butterbean. They look like a totally different size. It's not even close. So yeah, that was the match. Not nice. They introduced a bunch of boxers and boxing judges that I've never really heard of, but Chuck Wepner being the favourite of the names.
yeah, they made a big deal out of this, though, didn't they? That was the thing I was going to say. They had a big pre-thing in the build-up to the Brawl For All or something like that, and then they had this, and then they brought out Vinny Panzanini or whoever he was, and he refereed it, and they made a big deal about bringing him out. Who, what I've just read, he was an American middleweight boxer who had a back injury.
A few titles, didn't he?
Yeah, he was good. He was good, but he had a back injury and had to retire. There was a film made about him in 2016, so he was obviously quite a big deal.
1.5 on IMDb.
There you go. Really?
No, I'm joking.
I thought that was true. Well, there you go. Yeah. If you want to see a disgusting knockout, then honestly go and watch this. Because if you thought the last one was bad, because we was talking about how bad the last one was, this is worse. This is much worse. Yeah. He goes down like he's been shot. It's that bad, honestly. But yeah, it's been emotional. That's all I've got to say. And half of me's glad to see the back of it, and half of me's sad to see the back of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one 100%. Okay, so we've watched the whole of the Brawl For All now. Weston, tell us, what is your star rating for the Brawl For All, with 0 being passable and -5 being absolutely crap?
Oh, it's just such a hard one, and I have actually been thinking about this. Really is, because 0 being passable, this is not passable. It's so not passable because of all like the fucking bad stuff that it did to everyone. But like we've just said in the last bit, it was entertaining and it done what it was supposed to do. So it's such a hard one to call, but because of purely for the fact of how bad it was for everyone involved, I'm going to have to give it the -5, the lowest, I think.
-5?
Yeah, just purely based on the fact of how badly it damaged everyone's careers and bodies.
Yeah, it almost feels like it needs 2 star ratings, one for the problems and one for the entertainment. But, I feel like in running with the Crap Wrestling podcast, that we should just give it the 1. I feel like the entertainment brings it back a little bit, and it does make me feel a little bit bad now you said that should I feel comfortable feeling entertained knowing the problems that this caused? And it's a really tricky one, but I'm going to go with a -3, and the reason why I say that is because the bad stuff is very much the problems that it caused, the potential money that the WWF lost over it, the wrestlers that had their careers damaged, not just physically, but because they looked like chumps after they'd lost to other wrestlers. Nobody really got over because of this, apart from potentially Bradshaw. Yeah,
didn't get over because of this though, did it? No one got actually over because of this.
Well, I feel like Bart Gunn could have done, but they flunked it. They failed in that one. But yeah, that stuff takes it down far. But the entertainment, some of the knockouts are quite interesting to watch. I ended up not hating it as much as I thought I would. There were some good bits, and there were some good bits that I actually started to enjoy a little bit. Like, I particularly enjoyed the Rise of Droz, even though it got a bit of an abrupt ending.
It was definitely exciting in parts, wasn't it? You know what? I could have easily given this a 0. I could have easily given this, if you were talking about just for did I enjoy it? Yeah. Was it entertaining? Yeah. Was it as bad as some of the shit matches that we watched? Fucking no way. It was much more exciting.
Yeah. Like, I think it's easy to forget though that some of the first round matches were dire.
Yeah,
they were really poor, and I don't blame the fans for being like, we want wrestling at that stage.
Yeah,
because
definitely. You took the words out of my mouth. Then I was going to say the crowd hated it for fucking good reason at the beginning, but yeah, some of it was good.
It is one of those that if you were to say a -1 or a 0, I wouldn't have been surprised, and if you'd have said a -5, I'm also not that surprised either.
Yeah, exactly. If you have some time and you do actually want to go back and watch this, I'm sure you will find some good parts that you enjoy as well and entertained you, and I'm sure you'll find a lot like we did that shouldn't have been allowed. It's well worth going back and giving it a watch. It is a piece of wrestling history and it's very polarising. You'll find a lot of content about it and stuff.
None as good as this though.
No, of course not.
We got a couple of comments for our Brawl For All episode. Obviously with the mess of the recording and stuff, then it was a bit tricky to piece it all together. I have to admit that I maybe misworded one of our tweets that basically said, "Today is our last recording on the Brawl For All. Tell us what you think about possibly the stupidest thing to ever happen in wrestling." And I thought that people would assume that I was talking about the Brawl For All, but some people thought that I was just saying, "Tell me what you think is the stupidest," which is fair enough. I think it was my problem, not theirs. But anyway,
it's the stupidest tweet in wrestling.
It was the stupidest tweet in wrestling history. Welcome to the Crap Wrestling Twitter account. Someone commented on that about the Shockmaster's entrance, and I think it's absolutely fair that due to my poorly worded tweet, and also because it belongs in the Crap Wrestling chamber for sure.
It's right up there. That was definitely a good tweet. Whoever tweeted that, who was it that tweeted that? Was it Wrestling Jim?
And I still haven't heard back from Shane the Dean Douglas, unfortunately.
Has he not replied?
No.
Yeah, but you tried getting hold of the Dean, didn't you? And you ended up getting hold of the franchise. Maybe he doesn't do the Dean anymore, does he? He's only the franchise now.
Busy at university. He's
teaching. Obviously.
Conducting research.
Yeah.
The person who tweeted us about Shockmaster's entrance was
Shane the Dean Douglas.
Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast. So, do you know what? Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast. I haven't listened to you yet, but now I'm seeing this. Maybe I'll give you a listen. Maybe we'll do a little swap of subscribes. But he said Shockmaster's entrance, lol. So it's just as simple as that. And to be fair, he didn't need to give us much more than that.
No, he didn't need to get us much insight into it behind that.
He's at Good Bad Wrestle. Tell us, Wes, what do you know about the Shockmaster's entrance?
What is there to know about it? I know he falls over. It's funny. It's very funny. And it's unfortunate. But it's such a fucking load of shit. It's such a fucking load of shit. The whole thing of it. The Shockmaster. WCW. What were you thinking? You fucking deserve it to fall over. I'm glad his helmet fell off. So I haven't got to watch the fucking crap that was about to be following. If he had not have fallen over, it would have been worse, because I would have had to fucking lived through watching that monstrosity.
So the Shockmaster was a wrestler. Under the mask was Tracy Smothers, and he was told that he had to go out as the Shockmaster, and he was basically a man in a stormtrooper helmet, which, am I right in saying it looked like it was encrusted in diamonds?
It wasn't Tracy Smothers.
Oh shit, it wasn't Tracy Smothers. The Shockmaster was Fred Ottman. And Fred Ottman was instructed.
That's my fault. Sorry, everyone, that is my fault, because I told Matt that it was Tracy Smothers. I don't know why I thought it was Tracy Smothers.
As I said in the last episode, when we don't know, we just make it up.
Yeah, but we are Crap Podcast. Anyway.
The Shockmaster was Fred Ottman. And Fred Ottman was told to go down to the ring wearing a stormtrooper's mask, which seemed to be encrusted with rhinestones, I guess. Some sort of diamond, silver. It could be covered in tinfoil. Fuck knows, but it looks absolutely terrible.
It looks like a rapper would wear it as a watch, doesn't it? Or on a chain or something.
Yeah, it does, yeah. It looks silly, man. It looks very silly. He like busted through a wall, didn't he? Yeah,
he was supposed to smash through the wall, but they had left a beam, hadn't they?
He walked through the wall, he tripped over the beam, and immediately, his first ever entrance, the Stormtrooper mask falls off.
What is he supposed to be? Some sort of fucking robot or something? He's just walking through walls.
He's the Master of Shocks.
Well, that was a fucking shock, wasn't it? It's just fucking rubbish. It's just absolute rubbish. And I'm so glad that he fell over and his mask fell off. I'm sorry if Fred Ottman's career was damaged by this, but it's just so fucking shit. And I watched an interview with him and he said he couldn't see even wearing it. Look how small the eyes are.
I know that.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Neither do I. Yeah, there's no space for him to. How is he supposed to wrestle in that? He wasn't going to be doing a lot of wrestling, surely, because the helmet would have fallen off.
You think that, wouldn't you?
He would have been going in there, fucking body slamming someone, and that would have been that. He wouldn't have been wrestling. He would have just been squashing people, I reckon.
Yes.
This was around the time they were doing the whole fucking dungeon of... You know, WCW had that weird gimmick where they had Kevin Nash was supposed to be the wizard from the Wizard of Oz. Was it the dungeon, I think it was called? And the Hulk Hogan was down there fighting against all the gremlins and demons and stuff.
I don't know
Goblins
what the
and
fuck
that.
are you talking about?
Do you not know what I'm going on about? In WCW...
Hogan was fighting goblins.
I'm sure I haven't made this up. I am sure this is true, real WCW in the early 90s, around this Shockmaster time. They did a gimmick called the Dungeon, I think it was. The Dungeon of... Was it the Dungeon of Doom? And Hulk Hogan was fighting against like little like gremlins and demons and goblins and stuff. Mate, this is true. This is true. Here you go. The Dungeon of Doom was the name of a heel professional wrestling stable in WCW. This is them. These little weird men. So Hulk Hogan, Kevin Sullivan was in it. This is true. Who are the members of the Dungeon of Doom? Kevin Sullivan, Kamala, One Man Gang, Vader, the Barbarian Meng, the Giant, Lex Luger.
That's quite a strong
I know it is. I know. And so basically, I haven't got great knowledge of early 90s WCW, so what I know of it, Hulk Hogan goes into this sort of like Narnia sort of like the Witch and Wardrobe sort of thing. Genuinely, this is it. And he's in the dungeon, and this is where all these people live, the Dungeon of Doom. And they're all supposed to be like literally like goblins and stuff. And that was the whole thing. That was their thing.
Goblins.
Yeah, like mythical creatures, like mystical stuff.
I'm so glad we had this discussion.
I can't believe you've never heard of this.
No, I've heard about the dungeon.
Yeah, but you didn't know what they actually were, yeah?
No, I knew, but no, they were stable. Didn't know that it was the goblin fighting. Why haven't I watched this before?
And like, I'm sure Kevin Nash was in there as well. He was Oz. He was like a wizard. He was supposed to be the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. I didn't know Vader was in there. That was stacked, wasn't it? That stable, honestly. But that is the same period of time when the WCW were doing this stuff. So the Shockmaster, God knows what he was supposed to be doing. It was going to be something fucking as terrible as that. They had Mortal Kombat characters at one point in WCW, didn't they?
Do you remember when Judge Dredd come out?
That's what I mean. RoboCop was in there.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Sorry, yeah. RoboCop come out and fought. I can't remember who it was now.
He couldn't. I watched something about that the other day as well. He couldn't really do much. He couldn't really do much. Yeah, it was, but he couldn't really do much fighting because the costume was like going to fall off.
Yeah.
But
RoboCop versus Sting.
Yeah, it was Sting, definitely. It's just trash. It's just tragic. It's awful. It's terrible.
Because Turner owned RoboCop, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he...
What, he owned...
As in, like, his...
He owned the cop, the robot. It was his.
He used to get his paper for him.
Yeah. Turner owned the cop.
Yeah. No, not like the IP. The IP. He owned
the IP address to the robot. So, mainframe computer.
We're throwing some serious time into this.
Yeah.
He owned the intellectual property of the RoboCop, and they wanted to put over the RoboCop movie. I think it was number 2. So they invited RoboCop to WCW to beat up Sting.
This is what I mean. So this is what they were doing at this point. It's just
how did they take
rubbish.
over? How did they take over? And to be fair, the WWF was so shit at the time. So
WWF was just as bad.
It was probably worse.
Yeah. With a less stacked roster.
Yeah. At least there was good wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was equally, as the storylines were equally as bad, but the roster was much worse. So that was obviously what people were into back then. Did people? I will never know.
I don't think it was what people were into. I think the wrestling just died for.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Were the fans were they
years.
going, "Oh, this is fucking sick"? I'm about to watch fucking Sting fight RoboCop and Hulk Hogan fight a Goblin on the same show.
I think it's why the new generation went over so hard. Obviously, WCW's roster was stacked at the time, as we've mentioned on previous episodes. But when Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart came in, and they were obviously exceptional wrestlers, that people were like, "Oh shit, we don't have to watch a wrestling taxman no more."
Yeah, with goblins.
Yeah, goblins.
Like, obviously, I'm not sure if they were literal goblins, but they were just like mythical creatures. That was the whole thing. It was like literally like an evil dungeon of doom. That was it.
So happy we had this conversation.
But anyway, Shockmaster is fucking rubbish.
Thanks, but Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast for making that tweet to us, because
we wouldn't have had this conversation.
I'm so pleased I had this conversation, and now I'm going to go and watch this shit tonight. I've got to. I have to.
I was going to ask you something so quick.
Go on then.
Have you watched Wrestle Kingdom yet?
I haven't watched any of it. No,
You haven't watched any. All right, we'll talk about this next time. We'll talk about this Wrestle Kingdom, because it was fucking very well. What I've seen of it so far was very good, but it just got really. What I was going to ask you is, it's got fucking loads of really bad ratings.
Really?
Loads of people saying it's shit.
What?
I don't know. I really liked it.
People really loved NJPW about 3 or 4 years ago. They were absolutely mad for it. They loved it. And then I feel like since COVID's happened, and I don't know if it's just because, I don't know, the crowds haven't been there or whatever, and AEW has got so hot lately, that I guess it's just died a little bit. Like, at least in Western eyes. I don't know, in Japan it might be as hot as ever.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
But from what I can see in the UK and the US, from my understanding of Twitter, is that nobody really cares about it anymore. Nobody ever talks about it.
It's just like there was a couple of matches that got really, really poor ratings, like fucking awful.
Was it like Meltzer?
It was a wrestling review site, so basically where anyone can go on and write what they think about it.
Gotcha.
Starred out of 10, and one of them's average was like 1.8 out of 10. It was fucking like incredibly low, and I can't remember what the website was called, but yeah, there's like thousands of people have reviewed it anyway, and it got such low ratings. It wasn't a great match, but it was evil. I can't think who he was fighting. Evil was the heel, obviously. He's an evil man.
I like the
And he
name
was just
Evil.
doing
It's
evil.
just evil.
He was just doing evil things, just being a heel. But obviously, people just hated it, and I just wanted to ask you if you felt the same.
We'll attack it when I've watched some of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I have watched some crap wrestling lately. I've been watching some of 99. I watched the cast match earlier, Triple H versus The Rock. Do you know about that?
No, I don't know. 99's out of my realm, really.
The Rock had his arm broken in kayfabe, I believe, in a match, and Stone Cold becomes the CEO of the company, and he says that Rock versus Triple H, which was going to be just a normal singles match, said, well, since Triple H, you broke The Rock's arm, you've now got to put a cast on your leg. And so he fights him with a cast on his leg, and The Rock's, it's fucking stupid.
It's not fair.
Nah, it's stupid. And The Undertaker comes in and spoils it anyway, which...
Has he got a cast on?
No.
Like a neck cast or something? Neck brace?
The Undertaker, well, not just The Undertaker, but the Attitude Era, people talk about current wrestling has got disqualifications and count-outs and all that sort of shit to try and keep people, 50-50 booking, all that shit. But, the Attitude Era, I don't think there was barely a match finished. I can barely remember a single match that's been finished. I've watched about 8 weeks of Raw now, there's like 1 or 2 maybe. It's so annoying.
People say that it's bad now. WWE, all they do is these crappy finishes, and they've always been doing it.
Yeah.
There was never a point when they wasn't doing it, because when I've really, really become proper into wrestling, it's like 2001 onwards. And 2001, 2002, 2003, it was terrible for it. And I just thought that was part of it.
Yeah.
But obviously, people just moan now, all WWE ever do is these shitty finishes. No.
Yeah.
They've always been doing those shitty finishes. They were doing it when it was WWF, and they were probably doing it when it was fucking...
WWF.
Yeah, territories and that, of course,
Exactly. Yeah, it was so frequent in the Attitude Era though. People talk about it as the best era of wrestling of all time. Yes, storyline wise, no, in pretty much every otdo sense. Some of it sucks.
Yeah, so what happens in the match anyway?
The Undertaker comes and gets the disqualification. He comes and attacks The Rock, and then the fight's over.
Do you know what?
Ding ding ding, see you later.
So, The Undertaker has that Hell in a Cell match against Brock Lesnar that we talk about, where he's got his arm in a cast, and he uses it as a weapon.
Yeah.
Uses it to his advantage. So, why are they saying that it's...
Nice, man.
So how did Triple H wrestle in a leg cast anyway?
He didn't really. He got...
Is he on crutches?
Nah, he just got getting beaten up, and it's funny because he couldn't even get up the ring steps.
I can imagine it was fucking well awkward.
Well awkward.
He definitely couldn't have slid in, could he? Because he wouldn't have been able to stand up.
Nah. It was so funny to watch. Terrible.
How deep into 1990?
I think that was June 7th.
Oh, so you're fucking quite far in
It's the
there.
same episode as "It was me, Austin. It was me all along." When Vince McMahon admits that he's been the higher power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good episode. I'm not slagging the episode off. It's just the wrestling shit. Like,
Didn't that get
it's good television, terrible wrestling. That's
Didn't
pretty
it get
much Attitude Era.
massive ratings?
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think that was massive in the Monday Night War, that when they found out who the higher power was.
Yeah,
For some reason, it sticks in my mind, that episode.
it is an exceptional bit of television, because then of course Austin comes down, Linda McMahon comes down and goes, Vince, I've actually given my CEO position in the company to Austin, and then Austin spends the next couple of weeks like introducing himself to all of like Vince McMahon's like lackeys and stuff. Like there's this bit where it's like these couple of words, what do you do? Oh, I get Vince McMahon's coffee. Yeah, and what about you? Yeah, well I get his wine. What about you? Oh, well, I'm the backup for them two. Yeah, well, you can get me something to eat. What would you like, Mr. Austin? I'd like a cold beer. Okay, and what about to eat? Oh, well, my tummy is starting to rumble. Give me another beer. And I did pop at that a little bit, to be fair. It was quite funny.
I popped at you doing it then.
Yeah, wasn't the best Stone Cold impression. Not even my best Stone Cold impression. But it done the trick, I suppose. Gotta laugh. It's good television and crap wrestling. That's what it is. That's the Attitude Era in my view. There's the odd good match, obviously, but not many.
I feel like there was loads of good matches in the Attitude Era, like sporadically. But it wasn't people going on about the Attitude Era like it was just 5-star match after 5-star match after 5. It wasn't. You'd get like WrestleMania would be sick, like WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 18. Like they were Attitude Era WrestleManias, and they were fucking outrageous, obviously. But your Monday Night Raw that you're watching is not going to be 5-star classic after 5-star classic, is it? Of course it's not.
There's a Val Venus versus D'Lo Brown, and I can't remember if it's late 98 or early 99, but it's on one of the pay-per-views around then, and it's so good. It's so good. I didn't even think that they were that good wrestlers. I thought they were just kind of like fill-ins. It shows that, you know, given the chance, they can really go. Really, really good match. Really, really good match. I wish I had the name of the pay-per-view for you, but I don't off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's loads like that though, isn't there? Like even like if you watch some of Al Snow stuff, like fucking, it's really like against the Boss Man, and I'm not the Kenneth from Hell match, but some of their other matches were fucking good. Like he could work. There's loads of good wrestlers out there that just never really got the like limelight. I think, and I always say this, I think Billy Gunn was so fucking good, such a good athlete, such a good wrestler, and he was a fucking like 6'3", and he was absolutely jacked. And if he had, I don't know why he just didn't go his way, because they were fucking shooting him to the stars, weren't they? Giving him the King of the Ring win and everything, and then they just went to shit. But he's so good.
I've got a good fact about Billy Gunn actually.
He's an arse man.
I was about to
Is
say.
that a fact?
He is an ass man. Fuck my joker.
Sorry, man. Oh, that was my joke.
I was telling you earlier, the funny thing about AEW at the moment, I was really laughing at, is that Billy Gunn's son, everyone's calling him Ass Boy.
It's Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn's got a son. He was gay with Chuck Palumbo, wasn't he? They got married.
Maybe they adopted him.
Billy and Chuck. What is Chuck Palumbo, this kid's dad, then?
They're both his dad, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So
right, yeah.
Are they both his dad? Or is he not with Chuck Palumbo anymore?
Maybe. It's possible that Mr. Ass was bisexual and therefore...
He loved all arses.
He loved all ass.
All arses.
Yeah.
All of them.
Interestingly, Wes, Billy Gunn will be coming up on the next podcast.
Really?
Yep, you'll find out why.
It's good to hear.
So, a lot of tangents there, but still. Let us know what you think about the Brawl For All. Love to hear from you. You can find us on Twitter at crap_wrestling. That's crap_wrestling.
We really appreciate your comment, and I just wanted to say that we've had over 100 listeners now.
Yep.
We started making this pissing about and just talking shit and just watching wrestling, and we thought maybe we might get, you know, like our mates to listen to it or whatever.
My mum.
My mum actually has listened to one of the episodes, but
That was mine.
yeah, so
She said it was shit.
98 listeners then. But yeah, I just want to say thanks very much. I can't believe even 100 people have took their time to listen to.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, we hope to bring more of you on, but even if we get you as the core listeners to carry on listening, that will be
it's plenty.
absolutely
It's
fine
plenty
by me.
for me. And if you want to hear me talking shit about wrestling and you want to listen to our shit jokes and us just talking rubbish, then, you know, I really, really appreciate that you would give your time to listen to me talking shit.
Yeah, and if you like us, tell a friend. Tell a friend and make sure they're listening too.
Yeah, and tell them to tell a friend, and then they can listen to, and make sure that they then tell a friend to listen to, and that friend should then tell a friend.
This is the crap wrestling pyramid scheme.
Yeah, so basically, if that happens, then by my calculations, we will have 10 million listeners in a week.
1 week.
Yep, that's my calculations. 10 days. We'll say 10 days to be on the safe side.
We should probably check the maths with Shane and Dean.
Yeah, Shane.
So yeah, tell us what you think. That was the Brawl For All. I've been Matt Burgess.
I've I've been Weston Hughes.
Follow us on Twitter at crap_wrestling. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more crap wrestling and even more crap podcasting. Mercifully, it's over. I really mean that this week.
I was about to say that mercifully, this is over. 3 bites at the apple. Oh, fucking hell.
The Bart Gunn is here. Champion hands off.
He's also suffering from anal bleeding. What?
Is this match still going on? The dog poop! A right behind it! And a dog poop! Mercifully, it's over.